The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Vans. Before I start the show, this week's guest is Jeremy Jensen, the owner and operator of Grassroots Powder Surfing out of Logan, Utah. You can check out Grassroots at powsurf.com, where they offer the entire catalog of hand-shaped and handcrafted beautiful pieces of rideable art that are Grassroots Pow Surfers. Season 7 of FNRad is sponsored by Wired Snowboards, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop, Anon Optics, Time Bomb Trading, the Canadian distributor of Stance socks, Rumpel high-performance blankets, and much more, and of course our friends at Tribute Board Shop, who just put on the Turning Man Bank Slalom to raise money for the Send It for Nile Foundation and to develop a train park at Seymour Resort where the event was held. Check out Tribute's Instagram to see Travis Rice, Mark Fawcett, and others ripping the course. It looked like a blast. Anon Optics make the best goggles I've ever owned. We're back in the thick of winter here with snow falling, so I rode my new clear lenses up there today, and we just had like 3 weeks of sun, and I gotta tell you, Anon's bright light lens tints offer the best clarity on the planet. Anon goggles feature great fitting frames, super comfy straps, and quick change magnetic lenses. This year, I only bring one pair of goggles, even in the harshest conditions. I change lenses without taking my goggles off, which is key to maintaining a fog-free experience. Anon goggles are designed alongside their helmets and magnetic face masks, so everything fits together perfectly. Find yourself a pair of Anon goggles at an Anon dealer near you. Support also comes from Mount Seymour and Grouse Mountain, which are both expecting a healthy amount of snow this week. New Green Superfood Drink, Volcom outerwear, and Intuition Custom boot liners, the best in the business. Thank you to everyone who supports the show. Jeremy Jensen's been developing tools for surfing on powder for longer than pretty much everybody. His skills from decades as a sponsored snowboarder and lifelong passion for skateboarding and surfing led him to the development of pow surfers that excel in all kinds of conditions and terrain. For the past 15 years, he's produced the best pow surfing footage out there, and it's opened the minds and eyes of the world, showing what's possible in binding-free riding. I first spoke to Jeremy at the beginning of Season 1 to pick his brain about talking with Dmitry Milovich, whose desire to surf on snow created snowboarding out of thin air in the early 70s. Jeremy's a lot like Dmitry, an incredibly intelligent pow surf shaper from one of the best mountain regions in the world, whose company's success hangs in the balance of our community recognizing his hard work.
I mean, my first day snowboarding, I strapped in, I was back in my grandpa's hill, strapped into this black snow, and I did every single air that I've ever seen in a video, every grab or tweak.
Yeah, me too.
And everyone that I'd done on my launch ramp at home on the skateboard.
Yeah, me too.
Was just like one,
Same
two,
thing.
three. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, just did every single grab.
Made you feel like a hero, eh? It was just like, yeah.
I did a 360 my first day,
right.
The board's attached
Front
to
side
your
and
feet.
backside, boom,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it did have a kind of reminiscent feel of like a board with an inner tube.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Nice. Which you did the inner tube.
Yeah, which
I went there.
Yeah, which is not
For a day.
cool.
Right. Yeah.
As soon as you do it, you're like, look how high I can ollie. And then your friend goes, that's not an ollie, man.
And you're like, well, look at the guys that can skate. Like they're ollieing. Like, let's not fuck around. Like this may feel fun and cool because you can suddenly bounce on your board and jump into the air, but it's just not how it's done.
Well, there was a time in snowboarding where that was
because we had people showing us the way, and I mean, back to the trifecta, it's like the original snowboarding was without bindings, right? So it was like, even what Dmitry was doing in 72, he was taking runs at Snowbird on his prototypes that were nothing but a board and a leash. He was pow surfing, right?
Just the drips.
It is before the dots even. Like he's got these boards, you can check them out in the Park City Museum. You should check that place out while you're up here. So he's got some boards in there that are cracked aquarium glass on the top.
Oh, wow.
And fucking like metal edges, dude. And like it's either 72, 73.
Yeah.
There's a board in there that's got steel edges on it.
Yeah.
They're, 3-dimensional base. Like they're, it's a pow surfer. And he was, there's not really photos or film of it, but according to a couple people I've spoken with that were really close to Dmitry, he was pow surfing on those. He was riding those without bindings.
Interesting.
Back then before before they started with the soft binding or even the strap, there was originally there was just like a bungee strap over your foot or whatever,
It's incredible.
So, it started that way. Like that was the trifecta.
Yeah. Imagine
snowboarding.
Imagine skateboarding started with like bindings at some point. Like imagine vert skaters like clicked into their boards and they were like locked in. Like those roller boards that they have now.
Or like a snake board or whatever. Do you remember seeing that stuff? So they got to wiggle funny to get speed, right? So that was like the equivalent. I mean, that kind of did come out, but it was immediately clowned down by the skateboarders, I'm
going to get worse than a text from Terrier about this because the people get sore about the idea that bindings are a bit of a cheat. Because they don't know. People do, they don't know that you can do it with no bindings. Like the first time you go pow surfing, the first time I went snowboarding, I was like, "The fuck is this? It's not as hard as it looks."
Right.
Like it's actually kind of.
And it's natural.
Yeah.
If you're flowing with the mountain and flowing with the terrain and flowing with nature's forces, like it feels awesome. That's why it feels so good because you're like water down a stream. You're going where you should be going as another little piece of nature. But to say that having bindings is bad, it's not the deal,
No.
I love snowboarding, man. I love riding with bindings.
Yes.
And it makes all that stuff possible. Like we're riding giant mountains with ice and cliffs and huge kickers. And it's, it's a different deal. Like, and, it made sense that it went to bindings, because they're looking at ski resorts, We're building snowboards just like skis. Like if this thing's going to take off, like you got to put the training wheels on, for people. And that's kind of maybe how it started or whatever in comparison to skateboarding and surfing. But like
well, let me tell you this, in surfing, there are hardcore guys that were like big name surfers from the first wave of, like a Jerry Lopez kind of era that don't think aerials are cool.
Right.
That are like, if you're not on the wave.
Yeah. And I was like that
surfing
for a long time. Yeah. Even like, especially the early parts of aerials, and they were judged poorly in contests. But it seems to me like it's come around and they're fully accepting that. It's sick. Yeah. Like things move on, things change, and the kids see it and they're hyped on it, and then the people that have been doing it 10, 15 years, like they're like, that is a whole nother level of progression. That's like, that just exploded, the possibility, like, it's so rad. I think like the first aerials I saw, it was like, amazing. And then you see them do a spin, like they call it a 360 or, a 540.
Yeah. They're all messed up.
Skateboarder would call it, or whatever. But you see that and you're like, holy shit, that's like serious board control, serious, like,
absolutely
next level. Yeah. And the way you have to cup the board when you pop off something like that to get it to stick with you. Like, a skateboarder knows, you can see it in the movement of the people.
And making it look good. Like, so the first aerials, they were pretty hit or miss, like kind of sloppy, kind of weird. Yeah. And now they're doing stuff.
The same thing with your double cork that looked funny when it first got done and whatever. And now people are
Michael Chuck was like, he took some heat. You know what I mean? Yeah. He took some heat. Yeah. Yeah, man.
JP's double cork. Like, I mean, that one actually looked pretty sick.
Yeah, because it's JP and he puts he knows. He's got some sort of
unreal snowboarder.
Yeah, like camera outside his head that can see what he's going to look like doing stuff.
That's right. That happened on a kicker that my friends and I had been building for decades.
Rad.
Or a decade at that point. When that went down. Yeah. So that was pretty cool to see that happen in the backyard there.
Yeah, super sick.
But nowadays kids are doing double corks and they're styled, and super triple corks that are styled.
Yes.
And everything that we complained about, another spin, whatever, and then they'll do another spin with a grab and tweak it, and it's rad. I don't know. And that's the kind of stuff that bindings lets us do,
Absolutely.
So let it be.
Yeah.
And definitely bring style to it. Style will come to it. People see it and kids see it, and then they're like, I can do that, and then they'll do it better than the guy that did it before him, and you get this epic progression that's super impressive. So people, and it's weird, back to what we were talking about, the snow skating thing, and that's a really strange culture of people. A lot of them, they're hating on bindings. They're like, bindings are lame, whatever. That's like their marketing message, and
sure.
And I'm just listening to that like, what, dude? Like, is it because you're not good at snowboarding or you weren't doing the right things with those bindings, you know, like,
right.
You know, sure, bindings are lame if you're doing, you know, a 10-foot drop or whatever, you know, you could do it on a power surfer, you could do it on a snow skate, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But, hating on it, like, just because you're trying to like make something, I don't know, they're trying to convince people that this is the way, or to change, or to trade, or to never step on a snowboard again. That just seems silly to me. It's like there's a time to snowboard, there's a time to power surf, there's a time to snow skate. Like I love riding snow skates, man. I got at least a dozen different snow skates for different terrain, you know, bigger mountain stuff, powder, if you will. I mean, for the most part, if there's powder, the power surf has such a better feel that I'm pretty much always riding that. But I have longer, you know, skied snow skates that you can ride big mountain on, and
really,
you don't have to do 1,000 turns. You know, you can ride. You know, I ride up at Snow Basin quite a bit. They let you ride anything you want up there. You know, I'll bring my power surfer on the lift. I'll bring my snow skate. You know, any quiver. I'm teaching my kids how to snowboard right now, and that sucks to do strapped in. Like I do it on a snow skate, and I can pick up the kid, no problem. I can ride real close to him because I'm on this tiny little snow skate. Yeah. And I'm having a blast behind them, you know, as their brake, hanging onto the little cord or whatever. And I'm just ripping all these turns, keeping them up, getting them to turn. You know, I can come up next to them and grab them and you know, move their shoulders and their upper body where they need to be. On a snowboard, I can't do that. Yeah. If I'm on my snowboard doing that, the nose of the board is hitting their board and it's knocking. We're both eating shit. And then if I can't pick them up, my back's messed up, right? I'll be ruined from trying to pick up kids and unstrapping 100 times. Like when I'm out there, like teaching my kids, even when they were on the carpet, magic carpet, right? Like I'm picking up like tourists, I'm picking up other kids because they're like trying to hobble over on their skis or trying to unstrap their snowboard. Sure, hang on, I'll get them, you know, pop them right up. It just, man, having that snow skate to teach my kids to snowboard on is a godsend, man. It's a lifesaver, and it makes it really fun for me and challenging. And the kids, I'm right next to people like teaching other people how to snowboard, and we're just zipping by them, you know. And the people who are getting lessons are just like, what the, like, can I go with that guy? Like, what the hell? Like, what are you trying to teach me here? Like that 3-year-old kid's having way more fun than I am right now.
How old are your kids?
With his dad. They're, my daughter's 8 years old, Eden. Yeah. And Leo is 4. Oh, wow. And they're an absolute blast. It's so fun. Like whether we're snowboarding or pow surfing, we do that quite a bit. I'll take them up into the backcountry and just bowl them, you know. Same with the snowboard, you know, just bowl them and let the terrain take them where they're going to be. They're focused on, you know, standing up and just keeping their balance. And it's, you know, it's just like a strider bike, right? Like they're learning their proper balance. They're feeling the contours move under them. Yeah. So it's teaching, like nature's teaching them how to flow down the mountain. And so that's teaching them how to turn. That's dope. They freaking love powder, you know, like if there's powder on the side of the resort, they're just like, Dad, I have the powder. Let's hit the powder. And they're just like me, you know, they fall in it and then they just start throwing it up in the air and being like, this is sick. Like, I love it, dude. It's like, it's the coolest thing ever.
That's super rad
to experience.
Yeah. I tried to do the strap thing, like the harness that you're talking about, and I couldn't make it work on a snowboard.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Because you can't slow the kid down, right? Like, so you need, like you say, like something like a snow skate that's
helpful to get closer to them. Yeah, but I'll take those backpacks and kind of rig them like so it's pulling at their hip and not their back. Because if they're pulling at their back, it's going to move their upper body. They're going to get weird. Yeah. Even when they were really young, I would just clip it to like the back binding, so you could almost turn them with it, you know, like a little leash and that worked pretty good because, the upper body thing, if you're twisting their upper body, it's going to mess them up, you know? Yeah. Like they're not going to be
I would just pick my kid up when he was small. I'd just like pick him up, snowboard down wherever was
let him
like
feel.
Hold him while we're going down stuff that's too good for him. And then I would let him just drop him at like, okay, there you go. This is good for you. Here you go, man. Yeah. Have fun. I mean, he was
how old are your kids?
3. 18 and 22.
Oh, damn. Yeah. You got them done early.
Yeah. Yeah.
I waited a long time for mine.
I might have another one. It's up to my wife. You know what I mean? Wow. So.
Crazy. It's career dad.
Holy man.
That's dope, though, because it makes you feel all young again. You got to go through. I mean, you're close to my age, probably. So, like.
Yeah, I was born in 73.
where I am, a 76er. And so, yeah, I waited a while, but like, it's made me have to, I mean, not that I ever really grew up, but it just made me like get down on the floor and play with them again. And then you're like, oh yeah, this is fun as hell to roll around on the floor. And
I remember having a kid was the first time I looked up at the sky again. Cause it's like, oh, what is that? Oh yeah, an airplane. Cool.
Perspective.
Yeah. I'm just going to unplug this fridge. Sorry.
Kids are the best.
Kids. Yeah, I love dad talk. It's fun because it's such a challenge to go up the mountain with your kids and not be like, if you went in the morning with your friends and you rip pow, and then you come in the evening with your kids. Yeah. It's just not the same experience. It sucks.
But man, it reminded me the first time I got my girl on a lift, immediately we were like heckling skiers from the lift. And I was just kind of playing with her, but she picked right up on it. And she's just like, you know, we learn on the magic carpet, right? And so there's all these people teaching other people, and they're like, make a pizza, make a French fries. And so, you know, Edie's just heckling them. She's just like, you guys are making me hungry. Yeah, I want a pizza. And then we get up on the lift and she's just screaming down at all the kids, make a pizza.
That's awesome.
Make me some French fries. I'm hungry. And I'm like, I forgot how fun that kind of was back in the day. And I don't want to teach her bad habits. And also I'm like, look, like that kid's learning. Yeah. So don't heckle him. Like you don't want to get heckled from the lift about, you know, being a knuckle dragger or whatever, you know, you fall on your butt. Like you don't want those guys heckling you. So like keep that in mind when you scream that at kids. Like, put yourself in their shoes. But
we play this game at Grouse. The lift towers have like a lot of lift towers have these like an upside down barrel, probably over some equipment thing that they need. And so we'll pack snowballs in the lift line and take a snowball with us and try and play golf and hit the things, right? But there was a kid that just got on the chairlift with us one time, and he made a snowball too, and he just whipped it and hit somebody in the face, knocked them down like yard sale. I was like, and I remember going over the kid that got knocked down, and he just looked up at us and went, "Why
would you do that to me?
Why?" And I was like, oh, it was him, you know, like he's not with us. But yeah, so I have a lot of fun with my kids when we go. It's a different kind of fun than I have with my buddies. Yeah. The last few times, my son, who's 18, he was my filmer. Nice. I was like, all right, you sit up there and just follow me down this stuff. Yeah, it's fun, man. Yeah, raising kids that have an appreciation for what we're doing, like what our passion is, what our leisure is that's my fucking jam, dude. Yeah,
I've thrown my kids right into the fire from day one. You know, camping, skateboarding, snowboarding. Like this is what the family does. This is what we do. And they'll love it. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna like make them do that. Like Edie kind of wants. She's like, I want skis. I'm like, okay. And put her on my split board. Yeah. On my split surfer and let her walk around. I'm like, this is skiing. This is what we do on skis. We go up.
Yeah. Rad.
But no, if she really wants to ski, I'll get her a pair of skis. You know, I just don't want to buy all that stuff right now. But if I tell her, I'm like, I do the opposite of what like all the bad dads do. They're like, if you get really good on these skis, then we'll let you have a snowboard. I just roll the opposite on her. And I'm like, if you rip on this snowboard, then I'll let you try skiing. And if you pick what you like,
I told my kids I could. I just fun. That was when I told them the truth. I said, I don't have a hookup for that. Yeah. I don't know even where to get those. Yeah. You're snowboarding.
I wouldn't know what to put you in. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where to get them. And because that happened. But both my kids, definitely my son. I don't remember my daughter asking for skis, but he was like that. I want to do that.
Yeah. And they see all the other kids doing it, and it's easy. They're doing it well. You know, the kids can stand and ski. They're standing there, right? And so, my daughter's the same way. She's like, well, they're all doing that. And I'm like, look around, honey. Like, how many kids do you see like shredding? This is what we call snowboarding, shredding. Yeah. And she's like, hardly any. You know, I'm like, look, there's one right there. I'm like, that's a ninja. Yeah. And these are regular people. These are ninjas. You're a ninja. Yeah. Like,
yeah, it's perfect.
So she's coming up right. She's doing it good. She's learned really well. And I got two. You know, my wife doesn't shred, so I'm there with juggling two kids. Oof. I only have one rope, you know, so like she's got to do it She's gotten really good at it. I'm stoked to go.
Yeah, 8 years old
year.
is a really good age for it.
Yeah, she's been bouncing on the trampoline this year, and she's got way better coordination. I can tell, doing 180s and 360s and like trying to do little grabs and stuff. So she'll be, once their muscles come into it, it's a whole different game. So
yeah, there's something at 6 years old where they switch to another stage. Now they don't need you to be there with them the whole time. They can actually, I mean, I'm talking universally. That's not true. That's what happened with my kids.
Right. Yeah.
Was I noticed especially at grade 5, because in BC, the class does like 5 trips or 3 trips in grade 5. And then, so I had never pushed the toe side turn on them. I was like, just float down like a leaf. Just go as fast as you can. Come with me. Stay on your heel side and just float back and forth. It's fine. Yeah. And then like day 1 of the first lesson, they learned toe side because they were so good already. Yeah. Like getting on and off the lift and doing all the things. And
they're with their friends. And so that's pushing them more than dad telling them.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a good snowboard lesson person is going to just be like, no, this is what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
you don't have all that peer pressure behind them. So
yeah. You don't get to
just do what daddy says. Because they don't like to do what daddy says.
Yeah.
So yeah, my best memories growing up were skiing. I started skiing when I was 2. My dad put me on skis right away.
Where'd you grow up?
In Utah, in Logan, Utah, northern Utah, where I live now currently. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a native to this land. Yeah. And, my dad worked a couple jobs his whole life, so he was always busy. And so my memories were going night skiing and learning how to ski. And those were like the best memories of my childhood. So I definitely want my kids having that. And we're lucky, at least I am, like that I can go during the day, like my dad only took us at night. That's all he could afford. It's the only time he could afford. So it's like, I make it a point to take my kids out as much as possible, because those were my best memories. And they're going to love it. And that's what we're going to be doing. So they're going to be doing it.
When did you get exposed to snowboarding? Were you a skateboarder at that point? Like, did you already skate?
Yeah, I'd skateboarded for at least a couple of years. I had probably the poser year where I had like a Veriflex for like a year and just, pined for a real skateboard and hid, because you didn't like the older kids with real skateboards to see you and stuff. And it was the exact same thing with snowboarding. I got my first snowboarding experience actually was kind of almost a little pow surf. And I bet a lot of people have this same experience. I pulled the trucks and wheels off my, it was a Santa Cruz Jason Jesse with the Poseidon on the graphic.
Nice. Yeah.
Pulled the trucks off of that, flipped it backwards, waxed it up, and went to the sledding hill and we're trying to snowboard on it, and build a little wedge and hit the wedge and stuff. And
it's a lot like skimboarding.
Kind of worked a little bit, but not more or less just slipping out and
really not directional. Like you couldn't change directions.
Oh yeah, I mean you're riding a skateboard that was backwards, and back then they were shaped like triangles almost. So you have this giant square tail that is now your nose.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was funny. It did. And some kid there had like a Burton Elite that we could see from far away, and we were like so scared. It's like you want to go ask him if you can try it, but like no way he's gonna like tell you to get beat,
Yeah, totally.
And so we did a couple days like that. I think the next day we came back, I screwed some shoes to it for bindings, and then I realized like, okay, I take the shoes off. I'm walking up in my socks. So I actually went all the way through that, did it, and then got up there and was like, oh. Serious.
Yeah, I've seen that same thing. It was Bern Hodgins in the front yard. He laminated a crazy carpet to the bottom of some sled or some skate deck.
Oh, nice.
And then
like a snow skate, basically.
Yeah. But I think that I'm pretty sure that he nailed the shoes to it too. Yeah. Right? You nail the shoes, laminate the thing, and then and he built like a half pipe that he was just like kind of trying to go back and forth on.
Right, and you barely could.
I think, you know what? It's a long time ago, but I remember looking at it and being like, well, we already have snowboards, right? Like everybody's got like a Black Snow Legend or whatever.
Nice.
I thought
that was my board.
An edge.
That was after the little pow surf adventure on the Santa Cruz. It was my parents bought a Legend, I believe it was. That was the one with the plastic edge. It had like a little bit of raised kind of edge, right?
Yeah.
So they bought one of those for myself, my older brother, and my dad to share. And that was the one that I went to my grandpa's hill and learned every trick in the book on quick, or every grab or whatever. But I would not be caught dead at the resort with it. Like my dad started riding it.
I never even thought
my brother.
That could, yeah.
And then so I was just like, I was so scared of being called a poser because I was a skateboarder, right? And like that was like the meanest thing that the big kids would do to you, is call you a poser.
Oh yeah, that was a kiss of death for sure. To be
so
called
I was just
a
scared of being said, being seen. So I wouldn't even ride it at the resort. And then like the next Christmas, my parents get a Black Snow Edge with the
135.
Yeah, that had the metal edge. And so more resort, you could actually get on legally at the resort because it had an edge. And then so my brother and my dad are sharing that. I'm like following behind him on skis, just like, what am I doing? Like they're having so much more fun than me, and especially when you got to wall hits and when you got to gullies and when you got to like a little bit of powder, it was like, I'm an idiot, and finally I got, I think the end of one season that my cousin had a Burton Cruiser, one of the bigger one, like a 165 or something, big old thing. And
with the block tail or with the swallowtail?
Yeah, block tail. Well, it didn't have a block tail with a little notch or something in it.
Yeah.
So I borrowed that for one run at Beaver Mountain, like the local hill where I grew up, and my dad went up the lift with me, and it's probably the last time he ever skied. He told me how to do it. Or no, he was on the freaking edge. So he showed me how to do it, how to turn. And, by half a run, I was linking turns and just shredding, and
that's
got to the bottom and was like, hell yes, this is it. Like,
yeah. I can't claim that. I didn't learn to turn for probably 3 or 4 years. Oh, yeah. Nice. Until I got hard boots and a Kemper Aggressor.
Oh, man.
And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, the side cut. If you don't have to fish turn all over the place. You can ride.
I had moon boots when I went on that day, just straight, the puffy straight moon boots. And then the next year I got my GNU Vertigo, which was so dope. And I had, I think I ran Sorels for a bit, and eventually got like a pair of these Kemper boots that had like a hard plastic shell.
They were
the
worst.
They weighed probably 100 pounds.
They hurt your feet.
Oh, yeah. They were the terrible. Worst. And they were so big that they didn't really fit in the bindings very well at all. I think I had the Elfkin bindings with another bit of plastic.
Yeah.
Under them,
like
right?
a Kelly tongue.
So I might as well have been in like cement hard boots kind of. But whatever, I was so hyped to have a real snowboard.
Yeah, you've got a kit. You've got Elfkin bindings. You've got a Vertigo.
It was the green and black Vertigo. It was like the same as my first skateboard was a Vision Gator, the black and green one, right?
No
so
way.
I fully went that vibe. This was, a few years after my first real skateboard, but it was so damn fun, and progression just came like that.
The Vertigo actually was a really good board, like geometry wise, I think. I mean, was it one that flexed, or was it one that was really thick through the middle?
They were probably pretty damn stiff, man. I don't remember it that well, because I just remember they were still felt tankish. That was probably a 155, so it wasn't that big, but we learned. We were 360s off every bump, and like me and my friend that we skateboarded together all the time. My friend Nick Owen, shouts to Nick. He's we had such a good time. And then I think my next board ended up being a Santa Cruz 163 that I got purely because the color was really cool. Yeah, and it had the notches in the nose, but it was a giant board for me. I'm a little scrawny kid. 63's
big,
and so that like. It was kind of a blessing in disguise. I learned bigger 360s.
You're going faster. You have to go bigger to get. Yeah.
So and then I somehow I got like I think the front side 3 grabbing front side came first.
Wow.
As far as like sending something big, like a jump over the cat track or something. And so I think having that tank was actually a good thing for that. Like sending airs bigger, and then the mountain it's a super small little mountain. And not really no good jumps.
Yeah.
But there was trannies and jumps and little baby wall hits and things. But
cool.
It was so bad that like it actually trained you to snowboard pretty good, because that's all you had. You're landing in uphill tranny and moguls and whatever. And but I think I don't know. it's pretty good when you see that with a lot of pros, they came from the worst mountains in the Midwest or whatever, like, and then they get to what's good and they're just like,
because Dale Rayberg, Rowan Rogers, they were like Wisconsin guys.
I had a Rowan Rogers. That was my favorite boards.
The best.
That one came a little bit later, the Type A.
Oh yeah, that Type A.
Like I was so into all of the skate brands, Right off the bat.
Who was Type A? Tony Mag?
It came out of, was it a plan? No, I'm trying to think if it was a Ternasky thing or not. I'm not sure.
It might have been because Danny was on there.
Yeah, Danny Way was on, Rowan.
Yeah. I remember looking at the book.
Nate Cole.
Oh,
I had a Nate Cole a little bit later too.
Yeah.
But the boards were like light and snappy, and
I think they were made in the factory that Emmanuel Krebs was on the show by the time this came out a couple months ago. Yeah. But there was a place in Canada called Surf Politics that made like lightweight, really good flexing, really, they did the A board series. They did some of the Type A stuff, I think. And those boards just rode like $1 million. Yeah.
I was a huge fan of anything that was stemming from skateboarding. Yeah. I was a huge fan of Danny Way, still am. He's like my absolute idol. Like the guy's unreal. What he's been through and what he continues to do is fully changed skateboarding. And, he's been to the grave and back, and he's still just insane, just crushing it. Just a real solid.
I talk about Matt Hoffman like that too. Like Matt Hoffman was, if you were into BMX at the time, like he was
a stint.
So he was experimenting with bigger transitions, right? Like he built the very first, like 25-foot quarter pipes, right? Yeah. And Danny Way did that same thing in skateboarding, where the first time you saw Mega Ramp, first time I saw Mega Ramp was in a video, and it was like, that's fucked up.
Yeah. Like he just like kicked snowboarding right in the nuts.
Yeah. Like, the second edit where he's hitting the rail. Boys. Where he's hitting the rail. It was like, oh man, we're doing smaller stuff than that, and we're strapped in, and we land in snow.
Yeah. It's pretty insane. I mean, they're landing in a slippery slide too, to a degree. But man, you're hauling ass. The slams in skateboarding are insane. Yeah. I mean, I just saw it, Elliot Sloan, I saw a clip the other day. He did a backside 7 kickflip indie grab on the Mega. As clean as you could possibly do it. Like, it was like unreal, dude. But yeah, those are the things that come out, and then street skating too, compared to like street snowboarding. You're just like, man, it's a different deal. And that's where I went through a few phases where I was like, okay, guys, like the rail stuff, come on, like look to skateboarding and like you got to do something else. And they kind of did, they took it bigger.
Yes.
They got creative in the streets, which is
big time,
which I love. Like that made rail and street riding for me again, like later in life after, but kind of just being like, man, that's lame almost.
Yeah.
Almost, like Terry calling it mini golf or whatever.
Sure.
In relation, it kind of was for a little while, but like they've gotten creative with the spots and the photography and the videography in it too, makes it look rad. And just bringing that creativity to a different looking spot with snow is pretty dope, I think. And
I kind of missed it. Like I missed what they were doing, like with the rail stuff. I was a jump guy. I always wanted to see the big jump stuff. But I'm relearning it with like the Uninvited, like like Jess's series. Yeah. Like I like watching those. Yeah. Like it's super creative, lots of rail stuff in there.
And the girls make it look good, dude. The girls. I was just talking to my friend earlier today about just female skateboarding, dude. It is a beautiful thing, man. That like their style is so good, and like the girls that are really ripping they make us look stupid, on a skateboard and a snowboard. A lot of them. But I see it. Even just these young 13-year-old girls, like their style is so good, like a perfect backflip down a rail or something. Or perfect kickflip 5.0 down a rail.
No arm flail, just like
textbook perfect. And it's like we've never seen. All we've seen is dude style, and there's lots of good dude style,
absolutely,
most definitely. But to to see the girls bring it in, it's like, it's a beautiful thing. Like, I don't know if I would relate it to like figure skating or whatever, but I mean, imagine watching, like when you watch figure skating, there's a dude and a chick, and you know, the chicks are impressive. The dudes are like, yeah, whatever. It's kind of goofy or whatever. It's kind of like rollerblading or whatever, you know, but the girls do it and you're like, wow, that was actually like beautifully done. And with style and grace. Like, that element coming to the skateboarding is super rad to see. I love that. And I love showing that stuff to my daughter.
Yeah. I think I'm with you on, like, some of the rail stuff was not as creative. It just was kind of,
it's imitating skateboarding, you know, and it wasn't far enough beyond it for a while, like that.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, I did it all from the beginning. You know, we slid logs, we slid picnic tables, we split handrails, and then it had kind of been all done, and then there was kind of a resurgence of it, and I was not really that interested in that resurgence so much. Yeah, and in the snowboard parks too, I was just kind of like, meh. I was more of a jump guy. I like to jump, and if I definitely like to hit rails, but like on my skateboard, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. I mean, there's so many rad facets of snowboarding. We don't all have to fall in love with each one of them, but you can see the awesomeness in each part of it.
So before you start Grassroots, are you a sponsored rider? Like, do you get to that point where you're, you know, and how do you get to that point then?
Yeah, I wouldn't have been snowboarding if I was not getting helped out. I grew up really low income, you know, like I grew up on the west side by the train tracks. Okay. So I was, you know, they wouldn't put me on the basketball team. I was really into athletics, right? Like sports and you know, I was really good at football, basketball, whatever, you know, I could hang with the jocks, no problem. But skateboarding was so much more appealing to me, and snowboarding, of course, too. And so yeah, I don't know. I was lucky to, I think it must have been probably by the third snowboard. I never actually had to buy a snowboard. I got one for Christmas. Yeah. Got one for like another Christmas plus birthday or something like that, you know, because my parents didn't have much cash. And I got hooked up with a local shop that flowed me some, let's see, I think it might've been Option, might've been the first one. And like Never Summer gave me some boards back then. They had like plaid top sheets or something.
I remember those. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. They were tanks. Yeah. They were heavy. Yeah. Yeah. They were doing, I talked to Tracy from Never Summer when I was down in Colorado. What a dude.
Yeah. Now they've come a long way with their quality boards. Like they're pretty rad boards. And
they never fell apart. That's the thing. They were rock solid. And he talked in this way about how he just didn't ever really buy into like following what the trends
what everyone else was doing.
Of the industry was. Yeah. Like he even said he didn't love going to those trade shows. Yeah. Because it was kind of uncomfortable.
Graphic show.
And also it was like a bit, sorry, I'm reading into it now, but like I remember what I liked about those shows. It was a gathering of snowboarders from all over the place. And there was nowhere to go snowboarding. So you would party like crazy.
Yeah. It was awesome.
It was like just a big, and there were rock shows. There was, you know,
I think I went to every one since the, I have a terrible memory, but probably like 90. Yeah. Because I had to have been at least 17 or so. So probably like 90, 93 through the rest.
Like, that's when I started going. I was 20, 90, 93, 94, maybe like that 94 season. Yellow Bus got kicked out. It was like
so much me.
There was supposedly blowjobs being.
And I was too young to like go to the bars and go to all that stuff. So we were just out on the streets.
I actually,
you know, skateboarding and playing, just you know, raising hell in our own way, but we could still get into some of the parties somehow. And yeah, it was wild. It was.
I got into gambling actually. Like I did probably 4 years in a row where I just gambled every penny that I had.
Oh man, that's
like
a bad habit.
Nothing. Like I would be like checking the slot machines for quarters, like as we were walking from place to place, going to the show.
Being a guy who never had money, I never had money to lose, so I didn't ever gamble much.
Good. It's not a good thing.
I was fortunate to get hooked up with at least pro foam boards, you know, and then you could resell it, get your board for the next year. And so it was like you invested that 1 year and then able to turn it. And then I would, I started helping the snowboard shop in town buy. So I get to go to the trade shows. Was usually my in there, or we would go, shuttle the passes to get the homies in and everything. And so I ended up with some different flow, like option, limited snowboards for a little bit.
Yeah, that's who I was just talking about. Emmanuel Krabs was limited.
Yeah.
And
back when it was good.
Yeah. And that's so. Do you feel like those limited boards and the Type A boards were similar in the way that they rode?
Yeah, I wonder. They were kind of a little ways apart. That was a few years apart for me. I think totally. At least 2 or 3 seasons. And
I might be wrong too.
Eventually, when I graduated high school, it was I wanted to move straight to Whistler. Was what I'd seen the magazines, the videos. Huge fan of like the Wildcats, the whiskey videos. You could look at the imagery and tell what was up. Like, this is the sick terrain. This is the sick snow. You could flip through a magazine. That's British Columbia.
Yeah.
Easy to pick that out. You're not flipping through them and seeing like Colorado or, and Utah didn't get much play back then either. You have great snow and similar, some blue skies now and again. But yeah, the goods were like in Canada, and all my favorite riders, Devin and Chris Brown and Kevin Young, like the Shorties crew, skateboarding again, the Shorties boys. Like, so I was like, that's where I wanted to go. And I remember like begging on the phone, like I'll like clean the shitters. Like I'll do any job. They're just like, nope. Like, unless you possess a skill that a Canadian does not, we will not have you.
Wow.
It just like broke my heart,
No. And so, who are you talking to? Like just
some lady at Whistler.
Resorts.
That was the only place I knew. I think back then Whistler and Blackcomb were 2 different places, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that was the only thought. I didn't know anything about living in Canada logistically or anything like that. I just knew that's where I wanted to go. But
yeah, I've had to say that to people. I'm still friends with my buddy Sam. He came from Taiwan, and he was like, I can work here, I can speak English, and I can really help you with like clientele, like Asians. And
but you couldn't hire
I was like, I physically can't hire you, man. We can't pay you. Yeah. He's like, oh, you can just pay me under the table. I'm like, it's unfortunate, but like you could lose a business.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of wish I would have just smuggled myself over there and like lived on the street for a while or something.
Well, I kind of wish I would have gone to Whistler too, because I got suckered into thinking that Whistler was an hour away. It's 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And so, but you know what? I'm glad that I did, because the local mountains are small. They're kind of more my speed.
That's good vibes.
And then you're halfway between Baker and Whistler. So you get a few Baker days a year, which are badass. And then you get a few Whistler days a year. They're badass.
I knew nothing of what they really were like. I just knew that they had sick terrain.
Yeah.
Like the dudes were there,
the dudes were rivers. There. Yeah.
Like I was solely stuck to, I didn't have enough money to get out of Utah. I would go to Jackson.
Yeah.
Was the closest place that I could afford to. And I had some friends there. So, that's really the only traveling I ever did.
Is that how you get on Illuminati? Because you're in Jackson? Did you live
eventually
there?
Eventually, I never lived there. No, but some good friends of mine from Logan, actually, that I grew up that were skateboarders, a little bit, a year or two older than me, or a couple years older than me, that I used to look up to a lot and still do. They had places there, so we had a couch to crash on, and they were in with like the dudes, So I got to stay with like Willie McMillan and, probably a bunch of guys. You interviewed Willie. I was stoked to see that one. Yeah. And Rich Goodwin, who's a really good snowboarder, filmed for, Community Project and a bunch of other projects. But yeah, so those guys were in with the dudes. So we would go up there and just ride the village, and it was insane. Like, the place is amazing. Have you ridden out there before?
One 3-day week there, one 3-day trip. And we hit it just when it had just snowed.
Nice.
I think it was Graybird. Somebody took us out the side access and showed us around a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And we lucked out because we got in line for the gondola, and we were pretty far back, and it was super windy, and they said, we're not going to run it. And so then everybody went, oh, fuck. And they went.
And then they ran.
And they said, we are going to run it. And we just like turned around and got like, most of the line was gone.
Yeah.
And so then they said, we're not going to run it again while we took our run. So nobody was stacking up at it. They were like, screw this. And as soon as we got to the bottom, they're like, we're going to try again. And we got 2 box rides to the top. That seemed like a pretty lucky break.
That's my favorite place to snow. Or as for a resort, I think they have the best terrain in the lower 48 for sure.
I would say that it was my favorite place I've ever been.
Great snow, and it's cold. Yep. It stays nice and cold. It's a burly mountain. I love it. Love it there. Amazing side country, and the dudes are like just rad there.
Even the skiers are rad. Like just the people in the town, like it's a rad place.
Oh yeah. That's very motivated people. Yeah. Like they're always down to go do some. Some of them are a little over the top when you're like. You're on the tram and you're squished between like an avalung and an airbag and an ice axe and like, and the dudes aren't even going out, you know, it's a little weird, but,
what I noticed was, so it's the same exact tram as Grouse where I ride a lot.
Oh, same size.
And Grouse has like a lot of kids, and it also has 2 benches on either end, like a bench on either end. Yeah. So it, like when you got 100 people in there, it's just crammed in this way that the Jackson Hole one wasn't crammed. And so the whole Grouse ride is like, I could do it. It's like, welcome to the Grouse Mountain Super Sky Ride. And they do a whole spiel, you know what I mean? And so, and they finish right as they pull in. We're now entering the Alpine Station, you know? And so like there's 2 lift towers. And when it goes over the lift towers, inevitably people go like, whoa, like this big group of people, and it's so annoying. So what I noticed about Jackson Hole was there was none of that.
No, there's none.
It's
like,
bullshit. Welcome on the box. They play fucking rock music.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then if somebody,
and then they're like, don't go out of bounds or you're gonna die.
Yes.
Like, stick to the green circles or whatever. They're the easy way down.
And it's 7 lift towers, right? Yeah. And it sways every time, and I never heard one person totally. Not one. So that's what I noticed about the tram there.
Yeah, I did 15 seasons at Snowbird, so I'm highly accustomed to being crowded into a tram and fine with it. You know, I love that place.
I rode with Benny and Jeff Davis.
Nice. Yeah, Benny's a good dude. He knows that place really well.
And I mean, they were riding way faster than I'm comfortable at. But
you have to
try and keep up.
It's a rat race. You got to get to the POW before the next guy does. So.
We were riding groomers.
It turned me into a very aggressive and impatient.
Yes. Okay, so do you know what's happening all over the place? People are like, because the lines are getting so long and people are going earlier and earlier to get there, like people are actually like hiking the hills to get the first tracks as opposed to waiting for a lift.
And it's a zoo. It's an absolute zoo. And the canyons up here behind us, the little cottonwood, big cottonwood, it's out of control. It's like, I don't miss that part of being up here. But yeah, it was, I mean, the Snowbird used to be like, so basically like I was trying to go to Jackson, or trying to go to Whistler, and I got denied there. Yeah. So I did one more little Beaver Mountain year. And then I took off to, I actually went out to Colorado to get a job, ended up getting a job. But while I was out in Colorado, the dudes are like, what are you guys doing? Like, you're from Utah? Like, why do you want to come here? And we're like, well, dude, you guys have skate parks and the scene, and like people are cool, and the culture is like crazy in Utah, you know, people are weird. Yeah. But they were weird vibing us. And like, I remember looking through a magazine in the tourist place, and I'm like the snow, like it looks kind of shitty. Or it was just like wind cake flying off the side of people's skis or whatever. And I'm like, and I'm looking in the mountains, I'm like they're tall, but they're not very steep. Like, what's happening here? And I remember I got the job, and on the drive home, like I got a really weird, overwhelming feeling. It was crazy. Spiritual experience. It was crazy. Something was telling me don't come here. Like, don't do it. Like, don't do. And I saw I think we got something from the skate park, you know, on the way home after we'd like cleaned up our systems so we could pass their little test. Yeah. And so the way home, I was literally like, I was seeing faces and rocks. I was like hallucinating. It was really weird. But like, I got the full on vibe, like, this is not your place. And then I actually saw myself breaking up with my girlfriend, like stuff that had like, I mean, whatever, like that happens to everybody, break up with their girlfriend, but like crazy strong feelings that fully came true within the next 2 years. And it was really wild. But anyway, so I ended up, I'd hit snowbird day in the spring, like July 4th or something, before the July before we went out to get these jobs or whatever. And it was the first time being up there. And I was like, wow, like this is like, I'd never been outside of my home little dinky resort.
Oh, wow.
And so this was like real mountains.
Utah's
July,
legit.
I'm freaking right. I'm snowboarding in July. It's like a dream come true.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to go to the Southern Hemisphere every freaking summer to snowboard. So yeah, anyways, I end up at Snowbird for the next, 15 seasons or so.
How far is that from Logan? Like how far?
Oh, I moved to Salt Lake.
But how?
So it's only it's a 2-hour drive from Logan.
I'm shocked that you didn't do it earlier.
Poor as hell, man. I had no money. And we had connections in Jackson, so you could go there and eat at Taco Bell and survive on the couch. And then, we were getting on this is before that, the Gondo you rode used to be like a quad or a chair. And so we would buy one ticket and you'd be accidentally dropping the glove off the chair, right?
Yeah,
the
glove trade for sure. Yeah.
So we were working the best we could because it was super poor, man. And so I'd never been anywhere outside of those couple places, but Snowbird, I was like, this is the spot. So I got a job there, and right before I went to move out there, I got in a head-on collision car wreck coming back from a real early season day and back in Logan at one of our home zones, and it shattered my ankle to pieces, broke like sternoclavicular joint, bunch of crap. And
you're pointing to your head. Did you have a head injury as well?
Yeah, I hit my head and cut it, but not bad. It split my finger apart. Really the main thing was this ankle thing. It had exploded my ankle into all these pieces, and they didn't treat it right. Then I ended up with these bone spurs regrowing into my ankle, and anyways, I go to Snowboard. I can barely shred. And I'm in this epic place, and it was like unreal year, just dumping and dumping and dumping, pow, pow, pow. So I'm like, I can snowboard I can work this powder. There was some days where I'd have to trade stance. I would set my board up backwards because the ankle was hurting so bad. Yeah. I'd learned to ride both ways really, really well. And I'd done this previously at Beaver Mountain when I'd got an injury to an ankle or something. I would straight up ride backwards all day long, and we would even go hit kickers in the backcountry, and I'd hit them backwards.
Wow.
I wanted to snowboard that bad. I could not take a day off from this. So I was just cursed with that from the beginning, and 3 ankle surgeries later after, over the next 3 years, it's still screwed for life. Right. So that put a big damper on, the snowboard sponsorships. I was still doing it. I was still, getting boards, and I was doing contests. I did a lot of big air contests, a lot of slope style. Yeah.
I saw some of your snowboarding at one point, an edit of you somewhere. And I was probably he's legit.
Yeah, probably out in Grizzly Gulch and Flagstaff, all the classic zones up there. There's tons of great spots for jumps, and that's what we would do. I wasn't a fan of hardpack, so as soon as we ate up the powder in the resort, we were in the backcountry or side country. You go out the gates at Snowbird, you could build, or just go up the road and cross from Alta and build kickers. So because that was the best feeling, airs are the best feeling. Landing in those airs and powder, the best feeling. Spinning, powder. So we did a lot of that. And still, that my ankle could handle that, I would go to these big air jumps or these contests, and I would land just a little bit off on a back 5, and it would crunch that ankle, and I would be out for a week, just unable to hardly walk. And that was making it so I couldn't snowboard, or I'd have to take a day or 2 off. Back then, a day off was just no,
painful.
I'm not. I worked nights up there in a pizza joint. So I was delivering pizza at night to the resorts or to the hotels there, and so I was snowboarding every single day. Even at night, I'm delivering pizzas to these hotels. You could deliver a pie, go up a couple floors, bounce out, and then I could ride my snow skate back down. And I'd flip a snowboard out upside down out there, and I'd slide it on my snow skate. I just wanted to be shredding all the time,
That's so
no matter what. And that job allowed me to do that. So I got a lot of days. I was riding, 30 days a month. There was like a stretch of 90 days in a row where I took 2 days off. I think.
Wow,
I used to write on my calendar, right?
Yeah.
I would be like, learn switchback side fives today.
Oh,
or whatever. I'd write down where we went, any new tricks I learned or landed well, And so I had this funny like calendar with all this stuff that I've still got it packed away somewhere. But for years. And I'm really glad I did that because I never really kept a journal. Off and on, I would write a little bit in a journal, but I found those calendars and I was like, man, that is sick. Like, I wish I did that now. Because I totally would have spaced all that, any of that's not on video or whatever, and we didn't shoot that much because it was hard to carry cameras around.
I don't even remember what app it was. We had an app where you'd put in your day and you could say who you were with.
I would have killed for that.
All that
then. Shit. I do that now. I'll record voice messages on my way home sometimes.
Cool. That's cool.
Because I've listened to them and been like, wow, I should do that like every day. But I'm not very good at remembering that. Yeah, I've
been talking about it a lot this season, but with sledding, I fucked up last year. And just, if I had done that, I would have... I'd be in a different place right now because I'd have the best runs of my life, but then they would be followed by a fucking gripped ride out in the dark to my truck and then loading the sled and then driving home in wet gear. Yeah. And by the time I get home, I'd be dead to the world and also kind of a little bit feeling like, was that worth it? Yeah. But if I was
then writing in your journal, but then you can record right then.
Yeah. If I was recording saying like, okay, we did this run, I took this run, I got the sled out on my own for this thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like the encouraging shit. Yeah. And also, I need to enjoy it more. I need to set it up so that I'm not fucking gripped and also not like bummed out, like on the drive up, you know what I mean? Like scared. Windshield wipers and freaking out and watching the sled. Like, is it going to fly off? Like, I have to do better. But
what's dope about those apps now is like, you can say it, like you get to hear the stoke in your voice because it's fresh. You can do it right on the drive home or whatever, like, and you
can, it while I'm doing it before the fucking ride home. And that's all before I record. Gripped, that's it. So that I can, when I hear it, I'm like, wow, I was fucking stoked that day. Yeah. So absolutely.
I love like snowboarding or snowbird. Just that's a huge special place in my heart. I don't get to go there much anymore because it's just so crowded. But like we had, they used to just have the tram. They didn't used to have like all those lifts on the Peruvian side.
Yeah.
So you go up, you get on the tram, you muscle your way so you're at the door, right? So you get off first.
Yeah.
You get off first, throw your bindings on, boom, you're ahead of everybody.
Yes.
You shred that mountain like all the way down until you hit where the P-Dog, the Peruvian lift used to go to. You used to just come to halfway point at that mountain. So like we were full on tramaholics, like because you could do that every time. You just bust out ahead of everybody and you can literally just slay it without anybody in the way. No tourists until you hit Lower Mountain.
Oh, that's epic.
And so when they made that Peruvian lift go to the top, it kind of ruined that.
Oh, so now you got people everywhere.
Now you got people everywhere. Yeah, you hit them immediately.
Yeah, you don't have that timing thing where you could just be out ahead.
It really screwed up the flow of that mountain.
Interesting.
Big time. And then same thing with the Baldy traverse. There's a little, you can pop out ahead of everybody, run out on this traverse, hike out, and then you have Baldy all the way down until it hits Peruvian or whatever.
Yeah, I think I did. We did that hike. We definitely did that hike.
Train on the mountain.
That's pretty fun.
Drops and
and
like we were. That's what I'm saying. We were psycho like impatient, like because we always had to get. And you get out there on that traverse, and there'd be like a slow person, or like a skier with his shit everywhere, hitting you in the head or whatever, and so you'd stomp around him on the boot pack and keep going, and so it like that like trained us to be like just chomping, like you had to get at it and you had to get at it quick, and now like that the whole mountain just gets chewed from every direction, so you don't really have that. I guess you can maybe relax a little bit.
Sure.
But still, you're just knowing it's going to get chewed.
You got to go up first, right? Like, so now you got to
but even still, you got to pick. You're like, okay, I'm going to get this run, and then in an hour when I'm back to the top after the huge line, I'm going to go get the leftovers on this one.
There you go. That's what it's like everywhere now.
You adapt,
that's what it's like control,
everywhere. Man. I ended up after a lot of years working there. I ended up going back to Logan, and yeah, just getting more out there. There's really good backcountry, but it's way off the beaten path. There's no easy access. Cottonwoods, park your car.
Yeah.
And head, right up. We did a lot of backcountry back up here. I got like a split board, probably, I think it was 2000. I got my first split board. So we were doing
really early.
Yeah, we were doing all the big lines in Little Cottonwood and Big Cottonwood. I miss that a lot, but like the crowds are just insane there, and you don't, you can wake up at the ass crack of dawn, or go the night before, so you're there at sunrise and still not get your line because crew B is already there or whatever, So
wow,
there's still, if you go deep, you can still find your way. But yeah, I was working on going to school this whole time.
Yeah,
took me 10 years to graduate college because I was.
What did you take?
I changed majors quite a bit. I was a history major off the bat because I'm big into history, and then I ended up changing to like culinary arts because they told me, oh, you could do this at a ski resort and then you could snowboard every day. Mm-hmm. So I got into that and got vibed out of that because I suck at science, nutrition, stats, that kind of stuff. And then I ended up going into art and I've never been like that far into art, but I was like, I'll do like graphic design. I could be mobile. I could work from anywhere or whatever. So I eventually went to school for graphic design. This was after 6 years of bumbling around, moved to Salt Lake for the winter, ride snowboard, moved back to Logan for the summer and take some classes. So I never took a winter semester until maybe my 10th year of college, which was to wrap up my undergrad, and I'd switched to an art major and banged that out in like 3 years, really surprisingly good grades all of a sudden. And then did that and finally graduated, but still just wanted to, shred every day, and got a job in video production as, working there as a student. So I worked my way full time all the time. I was always working full time, no matter what. I never had, no Trustafarian flow. No, my parents weren't paying for college. Like I was, making my own way. So yeah, I had to work a lot. Didn't have much of a social life because same with that snowboard. Like there's a big party scene, and I had a lot of friends and rode with a lot of dudes, but like I would hardly see them at night because I was working at night. So I could snowboard every day. And so I didn't get like too ingrained in as much in the social scene, and because like my crew was just like, get off that tram, beeline, get the freaking nectar.
Yeah.
Go back up, do it again. We don't want to go wait in line and hit chips, runs, jumps behind 7 other people. We'll go out, hit them first.
Yeah.
Be down to the bottom, whatever, And so, yeah, I don't know. It was a different vibe. I didn't get as involved in the social scenes, and I was really shy too. Didn't talk to. I was seeing people like Bjorn, Lina's brothers, and Mark Frank, all sorts of snowboard legends, that I was just too scared to talk to. I'd be standing next to him on the tram, just like, oh my god, Mark Frank right there. Yeah. And one day he like turns to me and starts talking to me, and he's like, I was like, holy shit, this guy's like the nicest dude in the world. Like, he's not like a gangster that wants to kill me. He's just a super chill dude. And
Martin Frank's the best.
And like Brian Botts, I remember that guy. He was a Type A rider.
Yeah.
I was always like Dub brand weather gear from head to toe.
Oh, nice.
Because again, it was like, this came from the skate scene, and MFM rode for like World Industries. So I was like, worship, like the sickest company, skate company, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I never really got to know a lot of those people just because I didn't have much social time, and I was just a shy kid, I couldn't speak a word, I was just kept to myself, and same with skateboarding. Like I didn't really get to know a lot of the skateboarder dudes because I was too scared to talk to them. I just kind of let the skateboarding do the talking or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, passion. You had the passion the whole way through. Oh yeah. I freaking love it, man.
So when does
an addict for sure?
When does grassroots? I'm sure you make a few pow surfers before you even come up with the grassroots idea.
So that started like we started just riding. I think it was the year 2000 was when we first started what we called surfing the POW, is what we called it. We didn't have a name for it back then. It was surfing the POW. So this is sick, dude. I just picked this board up today. The Winter Stick 85 Roundtail Plus, the exact board. Like my friend, before I met up with you here, I went to my friend. He called me the other day and he's like, dude, like I want you to have that board.
Like, you'd sold it to him.
And he's like, no, it was his board.
Oh,
it was his board.
way.
Yeah, the first board that we ever surfed on that really worked. Like we had tried. I mean, I had my split board back then, so I put a little extra grip on the tail. I could ride it, with my foot between the two bindings, front foot between two bindings, back foot on the back.
Yeah.
Take the back binding off, and I could surf that down. And that was so sluggish, a giant board, like huge nose. Like you can make it work, but it's just like, this is so clunky. And so I had this Sims blade that had been broken. The tail had been broken off of a 1710 Sims blade. So I put these 1-ball J, stomp pads on it, tied a rope to the middle for a leash, tied it to my leg. And so I had been surfing that. But then my buddy brought up that winter stick one day, and it was like, it ripped.
You're like, this is
way beyond any of these snowboards that we'd tried. Like you could kind of make if it was real deep and perfect, you could make a snowboard work, but like not that well. And then I get on this Roundtail Plus, and I'm like, it's got the nubbies right already. So you're like, we're just looking at each other like, dude, this was like meant for this. Like, and we didn't know anything about history, winter stick history, any snowboard history. We knew nothing. We were just kids, and didn't know anything of a snurfer, never seen any of that stuff. We were just like, dude, we're surfing the POW. This is sick. And so, I just got that board. He gave me that board tonight, and it's out in my truck right now, dude.
Congrats. I'll come and see it.
20 years later, man.
I'll come and see it.
20-year reunion.
I love looking at the winter stick stuff.
It's 3D base. Like,
Dmitry
it's got the nubbies on it.
Is a genius.
Oh, he's the true godfather of snowboarding, no doubt. Like, I mean, I got respect for all Tom Sims, Jake Burton, all the forefathers.
Yeah.
Chuck Barfoot, legends, dude.
Yeah.
But like Dmitry was the first.
He designed in a bubble too. Like he didn't have anyone to bounce ideas off. Yeah. I mean, he had,
and he nailed
buddies,
it. He went right for the soul, dude, for the like surfing the fucking POW.
yeah, he nailed that.
So that was the first experiences was right around 2000. And that board was like, it was a game changer. It taught me, it gave me a lot of ideas of what to do to make something that would truly work, because most of the characteristics of a snowboard were the things fighting against us. Like they were making it harder. They were making it unable to do, the flex, the narrowness. Snowboards are engineered to be standing at a certain stance on them to make them work right, and to make a snowboard work right. Surfing it, you had to be way in the back seat.
Totally.
So this winter stick, like it worked, dude, and we were like blown away. And so that was our first experience. We were way more into snowboarding. This is like early season, there's nothing else to do. Like we're up riding, and there's a foot of snow on dirt in our little local playground, a spot that I've gone to since my first snowboard days. Yeah. And so that became the thing we did early season. We would surf the POW. That's what we called it for the years. And then around 2007 was when the first wooden boards we started making. So I knew it had to be short. I knew that I wanted it. I guess it had to be short because the biggest size of plywood we could find was 4 feet. 4 feet, right, and a Ford, Yeah. So 48 inches was the first ones. And then, so they had to be wider because they were short. Yeah. So we went wider. I went like, my first one had, it was a twin. It looked a lot like a wake skate would, or a wakeboard. Okay. And I wasn't really thinking that at the time when I made it, but I was like, dude, I want something that I can go both ways on. Yeah. Because I want to be able to do like a shove it, Yeah. Like I'm bindingless. Let's harness that,
Let's make this
not
work.
Just make it a thing that I do little turns on, but let's use this to our advantage to do something different. And then, so it had it looks a lot like some of the slash boards. It's had a indented nose, like a kind of a half swallow nose, half swallow tail. Yeah. Twinish thing. And
did it have a side cut or did it have
reverse? Yeah.
What is that called? Yeah. Reverse side cut.
Reverse side cut.
Yeah.
That's how surfboards were shaped,
Exactly.
So it's like that. This can be a shorter thing that planes up. It pushes you up, because the midpoint's between your legs. Yeah. So it pushes you right up on top with a short length. And part of this, the snowboard thing, they were just too narrow. Yep. And then
They're made for hard
flex was
pack,
weird. So
really.
this thing was rock solid. It was heavy. It was made out of pine, like plywood, literally plywood.
Yeah.
We made the contour out of we got textbooks. The weight of textbooks over cinder blocks is how we did the bend in the very first board.
Did
my
you
friend Brock
steam it or anything?
Brock Bitten, no.
You just bent it for a long time.
No. So this is my friend
a few days.
Brock Bitten and Craig Stevenson. That was like our crew. This was the crew that started doing this. And Brock's first board was made with the textbooks, and so that was like the first wooden board we were all riding. And then eventually we did it out of we built like a form and then used like tie down, like our snowmobile tie downs. Yeah. Because this was at the same time that I was getting I had my first snowmobile. I got gifted a snowmobile that was a piece of shit. Like it was a 500 Indy, Polaris Indy. Yeah. That didn't work. And the dude was like, I hate that thing. It's shit. It doesn't work. Like, you can have it. I'm like, really? Like, I can have it? He's like, yeah, dude, I don't care. You can freaking have it, dude. It doesn't even work. All I had to do was fix the pull cord.
That was it.
Fix the recoil.
Oh my God.
Fired the thing up. I was like, in heaven, dude.
Oh, that's amazing.
So anyways, we would strap, of course, our snowboards, and we'd strap a pow surfer to it. And then this was a time like, so Grassroots had been a skateboard company of mine that my friends and I made. And we did that. That started in 2000 as well. So we were just printing skate decks. We were just trying to revitalize the scene in our town, the skate scene. Mm-hmm. So we were making skate decks. We were making shirts. We'd sell them in Jackson and Idaho and Utah, like pretty small. And we were just like, the goal was to get some money and take a skate road trip, which never happened. All we did was lose money, and we still took the skate road trip, but a few of them. But we never made any cash. So like, anyways, I was just like Grassroots. I was always like Grassroots Snow. Like if you see some of those early edit videos, they probably say Grassroots Snow in it, and there's probably Grassroots logos all over in it. This old Shao, which was the first emblem, it actually stands for longevity and good fortune, flow kind of thing. And cool. So that was like the skate emblem from the beginning. But I was always like, man, I want to do a snow division so bad, but we could never afford to make a snowboard, Right. So we would just call it Grassroots Snow. Our crew was the Powder Day Saints is what we called ourselves. So I made a few films under that name as well. So, and that stemmed from when I turned 18, like when you're 19, you go on a mission, right? When you're LDS and Mormon, like all our families are Mormons. Like, okay.
I don't know anything about that, but
it's good stuff.
Yeah, but I get it.
Culture, man. It runs deep. So, anyways, all of our parents are LDS Mormons. Yeah. And so they would start quizzing me. They're like, "When are you going on your mission?" And I'm just like, "I'm on my mission." Wasatch Mountains. I'm a Powder Day Saint. Nice. And I'd give them the gang sign, the WM, the Wasatch Mountains that we used to throw. I love it, dude. And so. And I mean, they actually laughed at it too. So I'm like, okay, it's not offensive. I don't want to offend like the culture. So we were the Powder Day Saints. We were down, like, that's what we rode. That's what we lived for. We would ride resorts on the Powder Days. We would go build jumps after that. And then now that I got a snowmobile, boom, right up to the goods. So yeah, I don't even know where I was going with this. I got lost in the Powder Day Saints.
That's amazing.
Oh, Grassroots Snow. Yeah.
So it's three of you? You guys, like right from the beginning?
The Trinity.
It's the Trinity.
The elders is what we call them. Yeah. Yeah. So we were the three guys. This was my crew that we'd always snowboard. We're always building the jumps together. Right. We had snowmobiles, right? And so we started bringing up our POW surfers, and that's when I was like, what do we call this? And we've been calling it Vimana, which I
don't know what that means.
Vima. It's or Vimana. Vimana is like it's found in like Sanskrit texts and like Babylonian time. Like you find it in a lot of different cultures in their writings, and it's basically some of them describe it as a flying carpet.
Sick.
And others describe it as an ancient flying machine. Like aliens would come and they were flying in Vimanas. Wow. Or on Vimanas. And they say it in different ways in different cultures. But so it's like a mythical or mysterious, like magical flying machine. And so kind of perfect, you know, but I'm like, man, no one's going to know what this is. You know, if we call it that, like, and it's a V word, and we kind of thought that to be feminine for some reason, and just kind of, you know, V words are different.
Okay.
And so, it didn't like roll. And I was like, we got to call this something like that's more descriptive so people will get it. You know, it's like, we're surfing the POW, you know, it's a POW surfer. It's a powder surfer. It's a, you know, so let's call it like, I think the first video I put out, we called it POW surfing with a space, like POW and then surfing.
Got it.
And then I was like, oh, you know, like people aren't going to get that if they don't know what POW is.
Right.
Like, who's our audience? It should be snowboarders. They should get that. The slang gets it, but other people might not get it. All right, let's say powder surfing.
Yeah.
Grassroots powder surfing. You know, I'd always wanted to do grassroots. These were the boards I was making, so I started calling it grassroots powder surfing. And then we use POW surfing more often among us, but like just to the layman, we're like, okay, we'll use them both interchangeably. They'll figure it out eventually. Anyway, so that was like the birth of that on the first sets of boards, and we had everything. We had the reverse, almost everything was actually reverse side cut from the beginning because they were floating so well. They had awesome pop. They worked so much better than any snowboard, you know, beyond the winter stick, beyond anything, way better. Like immediately, the first ones. And so we learned a lot of like what not to do from the snowboards, and so yeah, we kept with the wood, and with the wood we could shape, we could ride, we could reshape it, we could go ride again, we could reshape it some more, ride again.
Oh yeah, right.
So we had this, you know, this moldable, malleable thing without because they were hard to build. They took forever to build. So we went down that route, experimenting. All the boards from the beginning, most of them were based off surfboards. They were like a fish surfboard shape, pointy nose, reverse side cut, little notch in the tail, or a little mini swallowtail.
Totally.
Squash tail, whatever. Like, and you know, we were throwing fins on them. We were grinding into the base, into, you know, 3D contours into the base, different types of channels, different types of everything, experimenting with all this. And that was like, we're not going to be able to replicate this, you know, like these 3D contours, they're such a bitch to make. The boards are already such a bitch to make. Yeah. How are we going to pitch this to people? Meanwhile, we're like, is this even worth doing? They're too hard to make. Like they're a pain in the ass to make. Like we're making our own, and it's so hard just for that. But it was so fun. Like somebody had to do it. And so I'm like, I'll do it, you know? And I had, you know, 3 different models. You know, one of them was a standard side cut, rounded tail. That was like the original Slasher. I had one that was, had a very similar nose to the nose was based off of, that Round Tail Plus winter stick. Yeah. And then a shorter, notch tail. It was a swallowtail, but it was not a deep swallowtail like the winter stick swallowtails. But so that was like the powder shark. Yeah. So I had like a, you know, side cut, and then a reverse side cut that was the powder skate. It was the one that you could do shove-its and go backwards on it and whatever. And immediately we were doing that. You know, we were doing shove-its, we were doing 180s, we were doing, you know, I did the first kickflip in like 2008. Sure. Like second try ever.
Yeah, I remember seeing your edits early on and being like, this doesn't seem possible, but it does. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, if somebody like dedicates a lot of time to doing this.
And if they have the perfectest conditions is what
I didn't
we
realize it was that, you know what I mean? Like,
and we didn't have perfect conditions. Like that first kickflip is in pure slush, like barely rideable conditions. And so right off the bat, people are like, oh, it's like, these guys are skateboarders, you know, or whatever. And we got this, you know, any sort of media coverage, like we were immediately like, this was a skate thing. And it's like, not really, dude. It's like, this is POW surfing. It's like a surf thing. Like the reason you're seeing the shove-its and the kickflips, we have to do that so that you know that we're not riding bindings, you know, that's why we're showing you this, because it's got to stand out. I made all these snowboard movies, you know, with our crew in them, and nobody watches that. You know, there's a billion snowboard movies out there, but the POW surf movie, like people watched it and people spread it. Yeah. You know, each one I'd make, it'd get spread all over the place. And back then there wasn't Facebook. It was prior to social media. Like there was some chat rooms and I didn't really play on those much, but I would hear about them. I was Googling a lot on the web to try to figure out, is anybody else doing this? Like, what's going on? And that's like when I found, when I found snowboarding, I saw, I don't know what year it was, but it was like in the end of one of the big snowboard movies. And we saw it, and it was Greg Todd's, and he was ripping down, and I was like, you could tell because he like fell off and the board went flying or whatever.
That was when you first realized that he
we're
had
like,
no
oh,
bindings.
dude, like he's got no binding. Yeah, because he looked like he was shredding Big Mountain.
Yeah,
like Big
totally.
Mountain, like big.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And I was like, that's Canada. That's the Anyways, and so, but then at closer look, we saw that he was holding, the thing to his feet or whatever with the bungee. He had the bungee cord, right? The no board setup, right? Yeah. And so we were like, oh, well, that's not what we're doing.
I think he dropped it as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he would ride without it. Yeah. That was his whole game. Like, that was like the thing.
Yeah.
So that was when I first saw snowboarding, and then I'm on the internet, I'm looking like, no one else is doing this. Eventually I saw, Wole, riding like a big mountain snow skate early on, and then he was riding a like his earliest Asmos too, and this was, I don't know, 07, 08, like around the same time that we were doing this. So someone else is doing this too, like, and that's what we thought about Greg too. I was like, oh, someone else is doing this too, and he's like fucking rips.
Yeah, the guy.
Then we're like, oh, he's holding the thing. Like, that's not what we're doing. Like, we're surfing, we're hands free or whatever, and so that's why I never had. Like, snowboarding was never like an influence to us, because we were like, we'd already been doing our own thing, without bindings. And this is when I first met Al, unknowingly. Clark.
Yep.
So, chat rooms. Somebody posted a video, or I don't know if I did, or I think someone else had done it. And so there's all this banter on the chat rooms. And so I get on there and I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be perfect conditions, and yada, yada. And then, and some people are like, oh, well, that's just snowboarding. And I'm like, no, dude, this is pow surfing. Like, we don't, like, all the research I'd done, snowboarding it's a snowboard that's been, you put the pad on it, you have the bungee thing. That's what makes the snowboard work. Yeah, I got one too. Yeah. They're
fun.
They're sick. Yeah,
but it's a different thing.
Yeah, and I was like all protective of it, So I'm just like, dude, no, like that's bullshit. I'm basically like fighting with Al Clark, not knowing it.
Yeah,
Spike Flush was his screen name.
Yeah,
and but not really fighting. We're just talking back and forth, and then eventually I think I got either an email from him or something, and it was Al Clark, and I'm just like, wait a minute, dude. Like, are you like the Al Clark?
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah. I'm just like, what the fuck?
Mind blown.
Yeah. I'm like, first off, I'm an asshole for trying to fight with Al Clark, really like my hero, or one of my snowboard heroes, And totally. I'm just like, holy fuck, dude. I'm sorry for being an ass, or whatever. I mean, and we weren't really, I don't think we were fighting. We were just like bantering. And this was back in like I say, prior to social media. So that's how I met Al.
Oh, amazing.
For the first time. And him and another dude, Rob Stevens. Do you know Rob?
I don't.
Dude's a fucking legend. He's a badass Canadian dude. So anyways, those chat rooms, and that's when like the first like banter started about it. And I'm like all protective about this thing that's like my baby, right?
Yeah, of course. Well, you know what happened there is that Al's also very protective of the memory of Greg.
Oh,
Greg
absolutely.
Todd's.
Yeah.
Like it's very emotionally charged for him.
Definitely.
Because Greg was doing it better than anyone else.
Oh,
he was the best on the planet for sure at snowboarding. But like there's no contest.
And he'd taken like his creation was brilliant. It's like he's taken what snurfing was, where you turn the thing with the rope or whatever, Yep. You step on, you step off.
Yep.
But he's got the bungee, which creates, you can put your feet where they're supposed to go on a snowboard.
Yep.
It makes that snowboard work.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like,
I went on a lift with it without having
you could ride it down a groomer.
I pulled it to my feet as I was on there, and I just rode it up the lift, no problem. Then I came back down, and someone was like, "Wait, you don't have bindings on that? You can't ride that on the lift." Yeah. And I was like, "I already have." Like, I've already proved that it works. Twice. But the guy was like, "Yeah, what if you drop it though?" And I'm like, "Well, I wasn't riding it on the lift, holding it like that. I just put it under my arm."
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, I'll get a leash or whatever if that'll make you feel more comfortable. But also, it wasn't the right thing in hard pack. Like,
no, you wouldn't want to, but it's still a powder tool. But like it worked, better than a surfer would or whatever, and it made it so you could ride that snowboard, without the traditional bindings.
Yeah, it was fun,
was great,
man. It was super fun.
And for us, it was like, well, that's not what we're doing. We're like surfing. We're surfers. We're standing on these things.
Yeah.
No rope, no hands. We're hands-free like surfers are. This is powder surfing,
Yes.
Don't tell us that we're doing something that we're not doing,
Right.
We're all
So Al was saying, like, it's called no boarding.
No, Al, I don't even think Al was. It was just other people, and I'd be like, dude, that's not what it is. If you can't see the difference, then fuck you, or whatever,
Right. And that's where we started with, like,
that was the initial,
it's
like,
not snow skate. It's not snow skating.
And snow skating was out back
different.
then too, because I started. I got my first snow skate in 2000 as well.
Oh,
and
yeah,
had been snow skating the whole time.
We were selling those
those Burton junkyards. I still have mine.
Well, remember before that, and what was the
Premier flat things. Yeah.
That I've skated one of those down a sidewalk when it snowed and down like a nice hill all the way down to the sea bus. I was like, this is like skateboarding. It's more like skimboarding, but it's, you know what I mean? Like you can't.
Yeah, dudes rip those things.
You can't redirect. It's just like straight down the thing.
Dudes rip everything now. It's awesome. But dudes were ripping those Premier snow skates even too back then. But yeah, so there became this weird riff, like, and I think it happened in like a snow skate magazine, the Starfish snow skate magazine.
There's snow skate magazines?
There was back then, a little rag. Yeah, it was hilarious. It was all like joke based cartoon.
Yeah.
Just really fun. They were not taking themselves seriously, which I thought was like pretty fucking funny. It's called Starfish. You starfish down the mountain eating shit.
Yeah.
This is the whole premise. So anyways, like those guys are like kind of have a vibe against snowboarding because it's not real bindingless or whatever. And they're really, they hate snowboarding. They hate whatever. But the editor of the magazine, he pits these people against each other, and he does this on purpose because it's similar to what snowboarding does or skateboarding does, like World Industries. Steve Rocco used to do. He'd have the same company fighting with each other that are both his companies. But it's making people passionate. It's making, it's building business in the long run or whatever. So anyways, so there was like drama caused by that, from snow skaters against snowboard or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not real or whatever. So anyways, that goes on. I end up posting, social media comes out. I put out the Pow Surf videos. They get spread all over the place. Like it's pretty good.
That's where I get exposed
like
to
it got sent everywhere.
Yeah.
This was when Facebook worked. Like you could post something. Everybody sees it. Everyone who's your friend sees it.
Right.
And then they were getting shared all over Europe. And so it like kind of caught, wind. And then there was a couple little articles the magazines would cover and whatever. And
do you start selling these things? Like at what point
I was selling in 08. And so
that's 12, it's 14 years
and
ago.
You've been, the first ones were 2007. So we're 15 years old. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And nobody, it still took, that was probably still, it took a while. I sold maybe I think 4 boards that first year. One of them to a dude in Tahoe, I think. And then a couple people in Europe and then someone in Canada.
That's amazing.
Like, yeah. And my first couple of years were like Europe. Was like they appreciated like a handmade thing.
Right.
Europe, Japan, Canada.
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
Damn near skunked again. Next year, same thing. Like nobody in Utah is buying these things. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like we live in a perfect place for this. And then so it took the States a long time to catch on it. So after a few years of mediocre sales or whatever, I've got like 3 or 4 different models.
Yeah.
P-Tex versions, wood versions, Rob Stevens reaches out to me. I think it was either Rob or Rob Stevens. He's like, we want to invite you to Canada to do this Snowboard Canada article.
So sweet.
Yeah.
That's dope.
I was like, hell yeah.
It's like, I will definitely get the guys together. We'll go do this.
Yeah. And so I grabbed Scotty Arnold.
I love
legendary
Scott
snowboarder.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Absolutely ripping skateboarder. Ripping pow surfer, everything overall. 100% good dude.
Yeah.
And we head up to Canada to meet Rob, and we didn't know who else. Just we're gonna go meet this random dude. This is my second trip to Canada. I'd gone as a filmer for this company called the Levitation Project and filmed Bodie Merrill and Brandon Doyon, a couple other snowboarders, and then some skiers for this. So a week in Micah Heli blew my mind through. Just blew my mind.
That's a high point.
And up there, I didn't have enough room for my pow surfer in that. This was in 07 and or in 06.
They might not have even let you do it, hey?
Well, I had my blade. My Sims blade fit in with my board bag.
Sick.
So I had that thing to surf, and then the
cat
drivers. Yeah, I mean, we would film all day, and then I would just do it in the backyard of the
I got you.
The little shack there. Shack, yeah, right. Freaking chalet.
Yeah.
And then the dudes on the cat would start giving me rides, and so I was getting these in Canada doing the sickest runs I've ever done without bindings, like, of
course.
And they're like, "Oh, you're snowboarding, man." I'm just like, "Fuck yeah, man! Fucking this place rules." Yeah. But anyway, so I get to go to Canada. Will be my second time in Canada, and we go meet Rob Stevens. We get hassled at the border big time. Whole truck gets ripped through. They're telling us we're bringing drugs. We're into Canada. We're like, dude, we're from Utah.
Yeah.
you really think they want our drugs in Canada?
Yeah.
Anyways, So they pull us apart. We're there until 2 a.m. in the morning. And so we show up at the hotel in Squamish at the middle, 4 o'clock in the morning. Rob's there. We go to sleep. We wake up 2 hours later and get ready to go. And we head up to this zone, and it's freaking DCP, Alex Warburton, Justin Lamoureux, Patterson. I think that was the first day crew.
Wow.
I'm just like, what the fuck?
Man.
Like, am I on hidden camera here?
Yeah,
like, you picked my heroes that I get to go like pow surf with? What? And they were all just the nicest dudes in the world. Super rad dudes. I've never met these dudes, only like frothed over them in the magazines,
Totally.
And we have a blast up there, man. Like we've got no boards, we've got I think 4 or 5 different models of pow surfers that I'd made, and then I think Scotty had made carved one out of a door or something.
Sick.
And, it didn't really work out, but it looked cool in the pictures,
Yeah.
And so we go up and we sesh, and I swear they took us to like, I think they just wanted to scare the shit out of us.
Sure.
And so they took us to like this pretty steep, a couple of blind rollovers, and get us up to the top and drop us in on that. And then I'm just like, fuck yeah, this is so sick.
This is all sleds?
Yeah, sled access. We're near the Powder Mountain operation.
Yep. Yeah.
Just outside of
out towards Seagram's or something. Yeah. No, it's fine, man.
I don't like to drop names. I'm very protective of
I don't
places.
blame you. Yeah.
So I'll drop your resort names.
Yeah, sure.
So anyways, this special place and
it's beautiful back there.
Blew my mind, dude. It was a blue.
And
we got blue skies for
know,
my first time in Canada, when it's never blue out there. Is what they're telling me.
Yeah, 3 days a year.
And we go to this super steep, sick, drop in, rip it. Like, I think I maybe ate shit once on the way down. Get to the bottom, and I'm just like, freaking kid in a candy store, so hyped. Like, probably one of the sickest runs like ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, we went and hit some more stuff. Like, it was just, we were riding big stuff. I don't think they thought, I think they were like, these guys are going to get their asses handed to them, because they had no boards, with the rope and stuff. And and we ripped down it and just had a freaking blast. And we had an epic day. Like,
they must have been like shocked, like jaw
I'd probably, I mean, you can hear it in some of the footage, especially like, especially when we're pouncing down pillows and doing airs and
that's what caught my attention.
Greasing the lines. And they had 2 or 3 Asmos too. So we had, because Stevens had some Asmos that he'd imported or smuggled or something into Canada. They were
tell me about when you these Asmos. I don't even know what they are.
That's Willie Nyveld's brand. So it's fiberglass. Well, they're wood core. They're very thin.
Yeah.
And they're
kind of what Burton
No, don't
came out with
them like that. No, way better than that.
But just that kind of.
No, they're very contoured, very. The edges are curved over, planing hole in the front,
Yeah.
And they channel the snow immensely through them.
Okay.
So like when you tilt to get on edge, you're kind of locked into that turn.
Got it.
And that's how I found them. Because I've been riding my boards, of course, and nobody else's because nothing else existed. So that was my first time testing out those boards, and it was I had a hard time riding them in the steeps, especially. I could rip them in the mellow stuff, and they rip fast. Yeah. And once I figured out what radius it wanted to turn at, I was like, okay, right.
Then you could figure it out.
But in the steeps and in the variable, not happening.
Yeah.
And it was 6 inches in some spots. It wasn't like deep blower pow. So there was no like riding without the rope on a no board, like you just slip out. Like there was the steeps were tricky on the Asmo for a lot of us. Rob did some good lines, Stevens, because he'd been riding those boards and was used to them. But the grassroots boards we were ripping all that stuff, like even the variable and the shallow pow. And,
sick, dude.
And we were, those guys were really surprised, because you couldn't ride no board without a rope in it at all. And so it was eye opening, and it was just the raddest dudes in the world that I'd like ever.
Yeah, Warbs is insane. He's
dude.
Canadian
and
royalty,
he was
man.
Sending it, dude.
Oh yeah.
He was like sending it harder than anybody.
Dude, you look at that into the snow zone footage from like 87 or whatever. He's dropping like a 20-footer.
He was one of my heroes, like for a long time that I'd seen in this. He was like the reason I wanted to move to freaking British Columbia, dudes like that, and Al Clark, and like, freaking heroes. So yeah, unreal with those dudes. The next day it was, Kevin Sansalone joins us the next day. It's like, holy shit. And yeah, we have a super rad session.
Was it the kind of thing where they called Kevin? They're like, you got to come do this.
I think he was probably already on the docket. They probably had it planned. I don't know. It seemed like it. I was just, my truck actually got broken into the night after the first session. Yeah. So there was drama there. They stole a bunch of like my sound recording equipment. I was working on this film, the White Waves film. Yeah. And just trying to get footage in general, but like, they stole a bunch of my equipment, and luckily not all the crucial stuff, the crackheads,
it's a bummer.
So anyway, so I dealt with that, but we still got out the next day. Sansalone, trying to think, Alex had like halfway blown his knee out that previous day because he was sending it so fucking hard. Yeah. So he was out for that day, but like, we had an epic session out there, and then the next thing on the docket was to head to a special zone and do the Greg Todd's Memorial. Oh, wow. And so that was like my first intro to like no board culture. Like I saw the no board, that like Sansalone was riding one, Lamoureux was riding one. We had one that we could all play on, and so I went up there and got like fully immersed in.
Isn't that zone the best?
Oh yeah, and
like so steep. Oh
yeah, for sure.
So rad.
It blew my mind. It was like, and so many fun buttons everywhere. Just so many things to launch off of. Steep, epic, trees, like unreal.
Al Clark took me catboarding up there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'd love to check out that zone. I'm going to come ride that over there in April when they shut her down, I think.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
But yeah, epic terrain, and just a special place, like similar to the zones where I come from, like very like you're protective of them, you don't mention, you don't say the names.
Yeah, Al's been telling me, dude, you can say it because he's running a business.
No, don't say
it. He's like, but I want to get. Just look up Al Clark.
It's unspoken.
And go to his zone. Yeah.
Shall remain.
Stay at his place. There's not enough people going. Yeah, right.
So like I meet all of those dudes and go to this event, and it's like I'm just meeting like the coolest people in the world. And like prior to this, like I'm like kind of down on, like, I'm like, no boarding, whatever, dude. Like, you got a rope, like it's just whatever.
Right.
I get there, I see the freaking terrain we're dealing with, and I get to witness the terrain because I'm back in Canada. Yeah. And I'd been there for Micah, so I kind of had an idea, but I'm just like, holy shit, it's like this everywhere. Like, it's serious. Epic terrain.
It's good terrain.
And steeps and like places where you can get cliffed out and da 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 da. And so it's like, it's starting to make more sense to me. I'm like, he created this tool for this place, you know, and it was born of this place. And then I'm meeting like all of Greg's friends and all, you know, the whole community there, and they're like the raddest dudes in the world. Like so fucking cool. And open arms welcoming. Like I'm about to drop into my second run in this little zone, and this dude just comes up, running up to me, gives me a giant hug.
Nice.
What's up? How's it going? I'm just like, what up, man? How are you? Like, nice to meet you. Didn't even know who it was, you know? Yeah. It's like, it's Greg's brother.
Oh, no way.
John.
That's
like,
sick.
Yeah. I find out that later, you know, I don't even know who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
But dudes are just super rad and like stoked, and like they freaking love snowboarding. They freaking love snowboarding. Like it was, you know, Greg was their friend. Like he left such a rad legacy behind with all those people, and they're so genuine, you know. And I'm just like, I'm like I left there a changed human, you know. I was like, fucking snowboarding sick, like, you know, like these dudes are like the raddest dudes, and this is such a cool thing. Like all these people are here for Greg's kids and for Greg, you know, and that's just incredible to me.
That's dope.
So like,
what year was that?
That was probably 2013, I think, because I was there for 13, 14, and 15.
So you went back every year?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it was so
a
cool.
pilgrimage.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, I've got to do this for the rest of my life. Like, I have to.
Yeah.
And so every Jan, I still go back there. They've stopped doing it, you know, but I still make that pilgrimage during that time, like, because that was such a special experience, and I met just so many rad people. Yeah, it like boggled my mind, and it's just fun as hell, dude. Like all the right reasons. There's no sponsors. Yeah, you know, there's like a little bit of media was there, whatever they do it. Sometimes there's a snowboarder mag article or something, but it was like all the right reasons. Like people just there fucking having fun, and you know, paying respects to their homie, and it was so cool. And like I never got to meet Greg. You know, he was one of the pros I looked up to. He wasn't as big of a name that I knew of, you know, because just a Utah kid, but he was a big name in snowboarding, you know. Yeah. To come find later, and
it's a big personality.
Yeah, dude, amazing. I feel like I got to know him through all those people and their you know, love for him. It was really cool.
That's super dope.
So they do the fundraiser. You know, I was giving boards to that, you know, like this is amazing, you know, I don't have any money, but like here's some boards, you know, like, I mean, I'm buying the beers and the Caesars, and sure. And the race was fun as hell, you know, like it's like I maybe got in the top 8 or something, you know, like, and because I fell at the end, you know, and I'm probably one of the only guys there riding without the rope or whatever. Like I'm like they fucking hang on to that thing and they let her buck, as they say, and fucking straight line down the mountain. Totally. And like young Dave Seaton, you know, just rips at it, and like Ave, I think, won or tied one of the years. Sky, who lives up there, like those guys just rip at that, dude. They rip. It wasn't my thing, so I'm like I don't even have one, you know. I'm not just riding my pow surf or whatever, and it's, you know, some of the people are, you know, looking at it like, what the hell is that? And then some of the people knew, you know, a couple boards were there, and then, you know, so it was rad. Everyone was just so cool that I had to do that forever. Have
the shark guys been up there as well? Like, are you friendly with the shark guys?
He was there the next year, I think.
Yep.
And that first year I met Tuttle. Like they do the giveaway, big huge party. Somebody gave me some wine that had something magical in it. I could see the twinkle in his eye when he gave it to me. And so I like took a little sip because I was like, that's a really weird look.
Yeah.
So anyways, I leave that party early because I'm looking at the stars in the sky, dude. Like I'm not going to miss a day of shredding. Like it's going to be Bluebird the next day. It snowed a couple feet.
Wow.
Excuse me, meters. Snowed a meter and a half.
Sure. Yeah.
So I wake up the next morning. Everyone's wasted flat out everywhere. No one's going. I go to find Al. You know, I'm like, dude, come shred, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Go find Tuttle. I'm like, who's Tuttle? Like, where? He's like, drive to where, you know, gave me directions. I go up and sure enough, Tuttle's like awake. and like getting ready to shred. So he's the only dude who doesn't drink apparently in town.
Nice.
And so I got to go have a day with Gary. Tuttle is his nickname.
Yeah.
Epic day. You know, he was snowboarding, I was power surfing, whatever. We were spinning laps. So fun, dude. And I interviewed him because I wanted him. You know, I was so turned by all this. Like, I wanted this to be in my movie, you know, for sure. Like,
yeah,
it was
man.
Obvious, like, chapter. But yeah, it was dope, man. And it actually didn't end up in the movie because, you know, the next year, I think I was shooting some stuff and Cholo got out. He's like, don't shoot. I'm just like, all right, cool. I want you to respect that. No problem.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately it didn't make it. I have super rad footage, super rad stories.
Yeah. One day,
you know, and like I had to
down the road,
it, you know, but it's cool. I
one day down the road,
respect his wishes. And so, but yeah, like the next year, I think Tim showed up with Shark there.
Those things look good too, man. Those are the only ones I've
sick.
seen.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones I've really seen.
We had
up
one
front.
in Squamish.
Yeah.
David had it.
Actually, I had a Bull Mountain for a while too. And they're very plain, plain.
Yeah, they were kind of like,
but they work, so they're fine. You know what I mean?
Those look like they were modeled off of my old models 6 or 7 years ago or something.
Okay.
I try not to follow it all too much.
Yeah.
Some of it like bothers me because some of them feel like more direct knockoffs than others. But I dig what Tim was doing because it was different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And they were really well made. Yeah.
Time, like what you're saying in the beginning, like
he's taking time to develop it. He wasn't just like copying. So they don't look like knockoffs of the next one, you know? So,
totally.
So yeah, I met him and we exchanged boards. I think it was that year.
That's kind of cool.
Next year. Yeah. Yeah, we ended up staying in the same place. I interviewed him as well.
Yeah. Dope.
For that. And we had mutual friends, turns out. So we stayed in the same cabin, went out and got some rides the next day. And then I think the day after that it rained or something and shut it down or something.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah, it was sick. And
so let's round it off with the last kind of, I don't want to say controversial thing, but like you seem to be very articulate about, you know, what you've created, you know, what the
borderline defensive.
Yeah. What the group of you has created.
Right.
And you've been an advocate for it all the way through.
Yeah.
And last year there was a discussion about, you know, what happens when the passionate small producers of something that they've been working passionately on for 14 years at that time, have to compete against people who are getting their boards made, you know, overseas or wherever, or just have it as a part of a category of a broader umbrella. We don't have to dance around it. It's Jones and it's Burton, really, or the two, right? Like
those were hurtful.
Yeah. So
to be honest, and a lot of them are hurtful, man. Like when you pour like your heart and soul into something, and you have no freaking money, dude. Like I worked 3 jobs. Right. I've been working 2 full-time jobs for 15 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Still, you know?
Yeah.
And so when you pour like all of that, your heart and soul into something, and then people are biting your shit, you know? And like some of them are more blatant than others, you know? Yeah. They're mowing your grass, you know? Like you work so hard to grow it.
Right.
You know, like, and one dude, you know, like I'm one guy, like I'm making all these videos by myself. I'm making all this photo content. Like I'm, you know, I created a market, you know, like it didn't exist before.
Right. And then they can come in and just use their
totally, dude.
Their
and so
bigness,
that, especially the big ones. I mean, the little ones are, you get annoyed and you just have to ignore a lot of it, you know?
Well, one of the listeners of the show, Cam, makes his own boards.
Yeah.
And he's cut like a press in his apartment. And I went and saw I rode one.
Yeah. Making your own board is rad. Yeah. Like it's fun.
That's it.
Yeah. But, and I have no qualm with that, but it's like when you copy someone's shit and then you try to make money off of it, it's like, what the hell, dude? Yeah. Like this is like the most soulful thing in snowboarding. And that is like the most soulless thing to do to somebody, you know what I mean? Especially someone who's poured their life into it. And it's like, it looks like a company to some people, but it's just this.
No, it looks like a company to me. Like when you were saying
we make it look big online.
Dude, the other couple of people, I was like, oh yeah, it's got to be a team.
No, dude, it's like those were my friends. Like I've done all of this on my own. Like all the videos, all the website, everything, dude. All the content for years and years, defended it. Through up and down, all the doubters. People were doubting forever. You talk about texts though. Yeah, when you get a text from someone like. Into this, like I was so doubting it in the beginning, like 2 years into it. I'm like, this is lame. Like we're doing small lines. Like people are going to think this is so stupid. Yeah. I get a text from Terry Hawkinson, dude. And my buddy in Jackson, he's like, oh dude, you might get a text from Terry. Like I gave him your number or whatever. And I'm just like, thanks for fucking with me, dude. Whatever. Like, you're a jerk. Yeah. And then I get one. I'm still not sure. And in an email, and I'm just like, is this real? Like, this address looks suspect because he has like kind of a shadow address,
I've heard it. Yeah.
And so I'm like, am I being fucked with? But I guess it was really him. And then people like Brian Iguchi and like, people are like, dude, what you're doing is sick. And then they try the boards and they're like, dude, that's amazing. That's like the most fun I've ever had in my life.
What you're doing is sick.
And so it like,
there's no qualms
it kept me going, because sales never did,
Right.
I've been working all these jobs forever. Right. But back to the companies, the big companies, that was really hurtful. When you flood the market with terrible product, it kills things. It
actually ruins the market.
People get on it and it doesn't work, and then they're like, pow surfing doesn't work now.
I think
so. That was like,
I think pow surfing in Canada, like with the backcountry sled crew, there's always going to be one.
Up their alley.
There's going to be one. Like it started. I've seen, and
they're totally tuned into snowboarding. So it's just.
Well, no, snowboarding didn't really blow up either. It just didn't.
Dude, I can't believe how many passionate dudes come to that event.
Yeah.
It was way bigger than I thought it was. You know what I mean? From when I'd studied it and looked at photos and tried to find videos, and I was like, okay, this is very small and very niche, but there was like a big crowd of dudes there. And so I was like, wow, this is a thing, man.
Yes. Yeah. But I think,
then, most Canadians still call it snowboard, and it used to bother me, and I'm just like, I don't care anymore.
I think it's gone more pow surfing now from what I've heard.
Yeah, it has.
But that's because you've got Burton and you've got fucking Jones putting out pow surfers.
Yeah. But even before they did, like it was still being recognized finally as, because people could
it was confusing for a while.
You know?
That was the thing. It was just confusing because you didn't have the two things side by side. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so pow surfing just has a better ring to it than snowboarding as far as...
Well, yeah, I mean, the name snowboarding came as a joke,
Yeah.
I mean, you probably know the story. It was a pretty rad story.
No, I don't.
Well, they were just... Tuttle is who told me. I mean, Greg was riding his prototypes or whatever, and... his board gets lost. Everyone's kind of like doubting him and, whatever. He's the guy doing it, because he loves it and he knows it's going to work for him or whatever. And then he like loses his board down the mountain or whatever. And they're like, ha, you're snowboarding. And then like that, like stuck. I mean, that's the gist of it. I mean, yeah. Al could tell you the full on story or, any true snowboarder dude could tell you the story. But yeah, so it was, I always thought it was kind of a goofy name when I heard it too. And I was like, I wouldn't want to call it that, but I didn't understand where it came from. And having it based on a joke,
paying respect
is even more awesome. I
super
think,
awesome.
End,
Yeah. And it's like no binding boarding. I get it. Like, it makes sense. Makes sense. It's
but that's why we chose pow surfing, because I felt it was a descriptive word. Of a thing, and it wasn't necessarily brand specific,
and we're talking about the difference between scurfing and wakeboarding. And it was
something that made a snowboard rideable, and a pow surfer is a board that's created for a specific no binding, no hands experience.
Well, that's what I got to give you props on. Again, I said it a little bit before, but like media wise, you were the person, the one person that made it like, oh shit, you can do that and make it look really good. I kind of knew from Greg Todd's, but he also seemed like kind of like a Superman. Like he had, he had some sort of talent that was not going to be transferable to like a regular Joe.
Human.
But seeing you on the POW surfboard, it was like, it seemed very natural. And it was well presented. It was like, oh shit, this is more than something that you just do dorking around on.
Right.
You can actually
you can ride
shit.
like the same shit you ride on your snowboard.
Yeah. And anyone who's hasn't, like, I spent tons of time like figuring out what kind of boots and bindings work for me, because most don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of uncomfortable. Yeah. And like ankle problems or whatever.
Yeah.
Flying off a pow surfer at full speed can be like a little daunting.
Oh, you get worked, dude. You get hit by the board. You can't stop yourself from starfishing down the mountain. Like you can usually stick your snowboard in and like slow yourself down from the tomahawk. But pow surf, when you eat shit going real fast, like it's a dangerous deal. Yeah. And there can be things underneath the snow to hit you. Like it's actually, I blew out a knee doing it, like you can definitely get hurt. But it's like, it's a healing thing too. Like part of the reason that drew me to it was all the injuries, the ankle, the 3 blown out knees, the serious back pain that had me off my snowboard entirely for like 5 years. Wow. And to ride at all, I had to be pow surfing. And so that got me even more into it. More dialed, got the boards even more dialed, and then of course that's what I'm shooting. And so there's tons of video content. Like I have video content coming out of my ass. Yeah, that's epic. We keep it like 4 years old usually. Like the stuff that most people see is 4 years old. And the Instagram stuff is like B clips and like I'm sitting on ridiculous amounts.
I can't wait to see it.
Footage, but
I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait to quit one of my jobs, man, so I have enough time to like put it out there.
Yeah, if there's anyone out here who wants to bankroll this project, I will vouch for it now.
I've had offers, man. I had offers by like plastic toy companies in the beginning, and I couldn't. I was like, no, dude, like that's not. This is my baby. This is like the soulful thing. I'm not going to sell it out. It's not going to be made out of plastic in China. Like that's just not the kind of person I am, Yeah. And that's not what I want to see happen to my baby. So that bothers me a lot.
I think it's important to get it out there that, because there's a lot of things that are falling apart, right? Like when Transworld went under, everybody posted their photos that they got in there, and rest in peace, Transworld or whatever. But I mean, when's the last time you bought a magazine? Right? Never. Yeah. We don't have subscriptions to it. And not that the subscriptions would keep it going. It's just, we're all in a weird
changing time
place now. So, I mean,
I'll come back.
I really do feel like you're a pioneer, similar to where we started with the Dimitri stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's just what Dimitri was doing. Like now we just have know more of what's possible, because we have progression from surfing. We have progression from skateboarding that Dimitri never saw progression from skateboarding, or from snowboarding, because it didn't exist yet. So we're like redoing, revisiting this situation with equipment that's more dialed and with like more like relevant like vision, and we've just been shown the way in these other sports, and so we have more to go by, and more of what's possible. So of course we're going to be doing crazy things that were never fathomed back then, and maybe that makes it more attractive, or maybe just people have grown tired of snowboarding or something, or not even tired. They want to try something new. When people step on a pow surf, dude, they turn into kids immediately. Yeah. And it's like they go back to those, like me personally, like I go back to learning the days that I learned to skateboard, where I was learning a trick, a couple tricks a day or whatever. And like just an amazing feeling of progression. And with pow surfing, you've been training yourself your whole life if you've been snowboarding or skateboarding or surfing, or skiing. I sell tons of pow surfers to skiers who love to surf, and they're like, so many emails and messages like, I've been skiing or snowboarding for 30 plus years, and this was the most fun I've ever had on snow.
That's awesome.
Like so many of those. Yeah. And that's like the kind of shit that's kept me going, is it really does. It's had a profound effect on a lot of people. And it's like led me to meet like the coolest people in the world. That's what I mean? Like all the snowboard dudes, like any road trip I go on, somehow we just you find the best dudes, because the best dudes are like drawn to that. Yeah. And like genuine dudes who love, they're in it for the soul. Like it's allowed me to, like, I could never afford to travel. Now I like kind of have to travel, because I got to spread this, and I have to. Yeah. I used to not even ever say a word, super quiet kid, introverted. It's like, now I have to say something, I have to defend, or I have to like set the record straight, or
spread the word, right?
Yeah. Spread the right word. Yeah.
I feel like that's what's coming down the pike, is basically just, making the best product, and keep spreading exactly what you just said, that this is one of the most fun things you can do. Yeah. And it doesn't require a chairlift, and it doesn't require a huge mountain.
It's a completely new way of looking at almost the same terrain that you've been looking, it's like, it's a rebirth. It's baptism, Powder Day Saints style.
I'm wrapping right up right there. One of the things I do want to just touch on is some of the equipment for pow surfing requires outside people to make it, like boots, for example. Like you're not going to make your own boots. And I've been watching the boots get better and better.
Yeah.
Like I got
Deluxe makes an epic pair of the Footloose, and then Vans stepped it up and made a good boot this year with the XF standard.
Yeah.
So,
I have a pair.
Nitro's dabbled in it a little bit. I'm not sure if they did. They gave me a proto from like last year, the year before.
Yeah.
So yeah, that stuff definitely helps. I mean, we all were running like Sorels or old beat up snowboard boots.
Yeah, and you can do that. It's comfortable. Yeah.
But it definitely helps to have a proper boot for sure.
Yeah.
It's much better than trying to.
If you're trying to find the perfect boot, here's my little plug in here. Talk to Crystal and Intuition Liners, because you can have a nice stiff liner in pretty much any in a Sorel or something.
Yeah, that was the key to the Vans boot that they had for a while too. The regular standard. If you didn't put a real liner in that,
I have a pair of those too. Yeah, they're just basic felt.
Yeah, that was so sick to see. To have Deluxe come out with that legit design pow surf boot was like such a validation for like all the hard work I've been doing. Like I was like, wow, it's real. Like someone else cares enough. Like they see it as enough. They see the potential that maybe I see, or they're just trying to make money.
I think a lot of people see it, man.
So
I think it's
if they feel it,
happening.
They definitely feel it.
Yeah.
It's undeniable, and that's why I feel like I got to do demos.
That's a great idea.
One ride underfoot. And people are sold. It's an amazing feel, and it really works really well. And,
quit 2 jobs
and with that,
and get a travel thing and put a wrap around.
I would love that.
It says Grassroots, and just show up places and sell boards all day long.
Change some more lives. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I would love it. That's why it hurts so bad when another company comes in and mows your grass, because you've worked so hard and you think, maybe I'm getting to that point, and then boom, like you get kicked back down by Burton making them in China or something.
That sucks, dude.
Which, I mean, a lot of people still like, they're like, okay, I'm ready to get a real pow surfer. Like I've had the backseat driver, I've had the what's the throwaway thing?
Throwaway.
I'm ready to get a real board. And so that, they at least got an entry, kind of like, I got an entry on a freaking Veriflex skateboard, back then, in a black snow edge, or whatever.
Sure.
So, I mean, there's that.
These ones are more expensive and they're worse, though. That's the problem. Is that they're
they throw a bunch of marketing at it, and this is designed by so and so that's got, and Chris Christensen's a legendary surfboard shaper.
Sure,
but not all things surf carry over into
translate.
Snow. I'm sorry, and as much as we like to try and pretend they do, they really don't.
No,
some things do to a degree, but it's there's a lot more to it than that. You actually have to ride the product a lot. You have to pow surf a lot to be able to make a pow surfer that really works. And, we have 25 different shapes, sizes. I mean, if you count every one of them, there's 30, if you count every width and every variation on the boards, but there is literally 20 different shapes. And they're designed for different types of snow. Snow's different everywhere in the world, different size, boot size, weight, different style of riding. Like, it's like you can pick damn near anyone from the line and you're going to have a blast on it. Or you can, talk to me and I'll help you with what's the best one for you in your zone, given your weight and your boot size and what you want to do. And
so how do people get in touch with you?
Powsurf.com is the website.
Yeah.
Jeremy at powsurf.com is the email if they have questions about that.
Well, hopefully the show goes out and you get a few orders.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, no, it's gotten pretty busy. The pandemic stuff helped it a lot because people are cooped up in
places,
and the avalanche danger was through the roof last year, especially in the West here, and so there was a big boom in like February when it finally did snow and the mountains came falling down on everybody. They were scared to go. Yeah. So they're like, man, I can at least get my kicks and giggles on the low angle, which you can on a pow surfer, but man, you can take that pow surfer into 40 plus.
Yeah. That was where I first
you
tried
can get
it.
rad. And it's funny, a lot of the stuff I put out, like some of that stuff, I think it scares people more than stokes them. And so like I often get like less positive comments and such on the gnarly stuff that's like mind blowing, and more on the stuff that's like more relatable. You're riding like a 25-degree slope with your buddy. Or,
Makes it look like fun.
Just fun instead of gripped. But still, you want to show the progression, because you want to show them what's possible. And like, these boards are this good. Like you can take it to this level. And so, you got to have the progression part too. And then the more relatable fun stuff.
Totally.
Because it's for everybody, it's for moms and dads and little kids. Like, we make sizes for everybody, and like everybody loves it. It doesn't matter your experience. Like, it's a good way to get your feet wet in the backcountry. Yeah. It's awesome when you have like a snowmobile, but we make split, I've been making split surfers since 2009,
Jeez, man.
And they're super dialed now, and they're epic. They're like, we have to do those on a pre-order basis because they're so tough to make. Yeah. Very time consuming, and it's a whole different process. And so, but they're amazing tools, like
amazing,
game changing for getting to the big deep waves.
That's so dope, dude.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I know you hate splitboarding, right?
I don't do it. I don't do it. No,
you don't at all.
I don't. I just don't do it. And I've been invited by some of the best in the world, like, let's go with
I
Mark
remember
Fawcett.
just listening to one of your podcasts and just cracking up. When I heard that, you're like, fuck.
I don't know why I'm so... Actually, I do. I know. I'm lazy.
You don't want to walk.
There's a laziness thing.
Yeah. Man, I'll walk. No problem. I'm an ambassador for a splitboard company, Cardiff Snowcraft. Out of Salt Lake here.
Yeah. Isn't that... It's definitely Bjorn, but is it both
Bjorn's
the
a part of it. No, Eric's out in LA doing some other stuff. But yeah, Bjorn, he runs like the team stuff and a lot of the logistics, and a guy, Sam Bodden, is the main owner.
Oh, sick.
And they're amazing, like super high end split boards. And so I've been snowboarding a bit more, and as my body heals, I'm dealing with some issues, like some major back issues and knees, and then I just had both hips replaced.
Holy shit. Like
I'm like
metal hips?
3.5 months out of that.
Oh my God.
Titanium. Yeah.
You gonna ride this year?
Oh yeah. I've been riding. I was split boarding yesterday.
And you're 3 weeks into new hips.
No, 3.5 months.
3.5 months.
I had two. It's different than a traditional hip replacement, like the elderly get, they call it Birmingham hip resurfacing. So it's a much bigger joint. They don't actually hack your femur off. They hone it down and cap it in titanium, and then put the titanium socket in as well. But it's way harder to recover from because they have to yank your hip out and spin it around and freaking hammer it and jackhammer and saw the thing. So,
I broke my femur.
So
and it was
in the long run it'll be
nightmare.
Be better.
Yeah.
And then so I'm getting my flexion back and my strength back. I've been pow surfing a few times and snowboarding a couple times.
Well, if I come up to Logan,
come out.
There's a storm brewing, right? Like
it's snowing there now. The storm blew away from here is what it looks like, and it's not going to produce for tomorrow. But up in Logan, it had snowed 3 or 4 inches already as of a couple hours ago. So I'm going pow surfing in the morning, dog.
Sick. Well, let's get you out of here, man, and I'll come up and visit. That'd be fun.
Anytime.
Yeah,
wide open invitation. Really you just can't say the word.
Yeah. Okay.
It's another one of those places. Any of the We're very protected. That's why I fully get with the special spots up in Canada too. Like you don't breathe those.
Yeah, sure.
Unspoken words. So.
Yeah, man. Totally.
You got to respect the locals.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeremy.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. This is insane. Like just that you invited me to do this is all blows my mind.
Yeah,
like
you've
interviewed like every one of my heroes like for my entire life, and then some more people that I didn't know, like some of the more recent Canadian pros that I've been super stoked to listen to, and I'm blown away that you would.
You're going to have a fun time listening. The people that I've been able to track down, they're mind blowing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The stuff is so good.
Yeah. I talk about meeting the best people in the world from POW surfing, and you're rolling around like interviewing the straight, like I'd have a hard time talking to them because I'd be drooling all over myself.
It takes
a while to fan out,
right?
You know?
Like we were talking third reference to Terrier texting. Like, yeah, sometimes it's a trip.
Yeah.
I took a screenshot. I've talked about it already. Terrier text above a text from Devin Walsh.
Oh, insane.
I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? What has happened? How did I get here? You know, that's all passion. I think I see in you a kindred spirit, a like-minded person. Like, follow your passion. That's what you got to do.
That's what turned me on to your podcast from the beginning. Is I could tell you were true, passionate, like you had a real knowledge of shredding and like a true love for it, and that makes a huge difference.
Well, I do it. That's the thing, is that I do it. Like that's my main.
Well, lots of people do it.
Yeah.
Lots of people.
So many people.
But there's definitely more passionate than others, and people that are willing to go the length to keep it going, or you know what I mean? Yeah. Do you still work your job as a mailman?
100%. Yeah, it's kicking my ass, but I think I'm going to retire it before I turn 50. So I got another 18 months to go or something.
Yeah. I mean, that says a lot right there, dude. Like I kind of thought, I was like, I bet he's making it now. Because you've got so many episodes and you've been going for so long.
No, man. No, it's a passion project.
See, that's why you're still going.
Yeah.
I fully relate to that.
Yeah, because I get to meet people like, I could say it because they're guests that everybody's already heard from, but like Dave Dowd, who was just, I had no idea how deep into the scene and snowboarding, how respected he was. Todd Franzen, holy shit, there's an era of Todd Franzen. He showed me like his clippings from the magazines, and I'm like, oh yeah, that dude with the glasses. And like he was like a real, like, you saw him a lot in the magazines. And he's a really, really sweet person.
I've loved it, man. I love the podcast because it jars loose all these memories, man. Yes. Like names that I'd forgotten, and I'm just like, holy shit, how did I forget that? Like, so it's to hear their voices and their stories and their backstories, because all you saw was the photo in the magazines.
That's it.
It's so cool to dive into their lives and
doing
a good thing.
It's kind of nice to be intimate like this, face to face. I missed that last year with the COVID bullshit.
Yeah, you're doing a remote.
So a lot of phone calls, and they're just not as fun. Zoom people are like, let's do it on Zoom, and it's like, oh, the audio sucks.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, and you get glitches, and you could see each other, but you could see they're fucking doing something else over here or whatever.
Checking the phone.
Oh man.
Yeah, they were not engaged.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for spending the time, dude. And
of course.
I feel you'll be on the show again, and we'll be talking about, that Anytime. Video drop or something. It's going to happen.
Anytime.
Yeah, dude. All right.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. Night. FNRad shoutouts this week to Jeremy Jensen. Go check out powsurf.com, which is the grassroots website. And if you have any questions about what powsurf would be best for you in your region, he'll answer them personally and put you on the right track. Special thanks to all the guests this year. I was extra stoked to see Quinn Sandvold out riding with Trent Bush and Matt Nipper this week. It's been about 30 years, I think, since those guys have got together. And thanks to you guys, the listeners, all around the world, and particularly the people who've said hello at Seymour and Grouse this year. Be sure to come back next week for another episode of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast, presented by Vans and brought to you by SIA Productions.